Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and let's get ready for EJ Boxing Live.
Am I the meanest?
Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and let's get
Show
ready
up! Am I
for
the baddest
EJ
mofo down around this town? Show up! But who am I? Show up! Who am I? Show up! I can't hear you. Show up!
Can you dig it, you sucker, sucker?
Can you dig it, suckers? Yo, what's going on, people? EJ Boxing Live here. We're gonna get a breakdown here. Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, breakdown prediction. All right, let's go. So, as a podcast coming up, so I'm just probably gonna skip it in that. But let's see what they have to say.
Matchroom, I want to take this opportunity to bring both of them together for a conversation about the state of boxing. Bob, of course,
Bob
arguably
Arum,
the greatest promoter in
Eddie
boxing
Hearn on the
history.
heels of
Eddie
the
has elevated
PED
Matchroom
scandal.
into a force in the UK,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
now has his sights set
So
on
it's
the US. Bob,
this
Eddie,
is just
thanks
yesterday.
for joining me.
Here we go.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Bob, before we get into all the good stuff, you had a tragedy in your show this past weekend. Maxim Dadashev, he passed away in the ring after a really tough fight in the co-main event of your show. Just your reaction to what happened last Friday night.
I forgot about that.
Well, it's really sad. I mean, very, very sad.
Yeah.
The kid came over from Russia. He's been living in the United States, family back in Russia. He was a wonderful young man, really dedicated. Everybody thought extremely highly of him. My matchmakers loved him. And his death is indeed a tragedy. And there are people now trying to find out what happened. I was there at the fight. While it was clear the Puerto Rican who he fought was winning the fight, he was in the fight. And as a matter of fact, won the 9th round, lost the 10th round. And I knew he was getting beat, but I didn't know he was in any distress until the 11th round when he wasn't responding in the corner between the 11th and 12th round. Now, I don't know, again, what caused this, and I'm not a doctor, but I would think, just throw it out, that there has to be more brain scans prior to fights than there are now.
That would help.
I heard that sometimes these brain scans are 3 and 4 years apart if a fighter hasn't been knocked down in the interim. So I would suggest, but I certainly want the medical community to chime in, that frequent brain scans might have prevented this. Might have. I mean, this kid had performed unbelievably going into this fight. There wasn't any question looking at him that there was anything wrong going into the fight. But again, if there had been a required scan of the brain, maybe something would have been found which would have prevented this tragedy from occurring.
Eddie, when you see something like this happen, even though it's not on one of your shows, what's your reaction?
Eddie.
Well, I think it hits the whole communities, doesn't it? I mean, firstly, you think about the family of the fighters and the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to Bob last night about Buddy McGirt. You know, how is he feeling right now? There's a guy who, Hall of Famer, cares so much for his fighters. You saw him compassionately pull the fighter out at the end of that round when, you know, he would have been able to carry on in the fight from the referee. There's all kinds of things, like Bob said, is a really interesting point about the scans. I talked to Bob last night about oxygen at ringside as well. There was a tragedy, although Michael Watson survived the tragedy against Chris Eubank, where it was introduced that there'd be a paramedic with oxygen at ringside, and that those vital moments in the ring where oxygen can be applied to the fighter can make a big difference.
That's true.
And, you know, you saw Dadashev in distress, almost collapsed on the way out of the ring and stretch it out. There was no oxygen in the ring or administered on the stretcher as well. all this stuff is, you know, it's a shame that these kind of events have to bring this stuff to light. But, you know, our thoughts are, of course, with the Dadashev family and all his friends. You know, I think one of the great things about the US is how many foreign fighters have almost found this place as their home. You know, you look at Bivol, you look at Kuzmin, you look at Kovalev, all those guys are very close with the likes of Dadashev. You know, they grew up in the amateur code together. And, you know, it's a terrible part of our sport. And, of course, our thoughts are with everybody associated. And, you know, I know Bob, you know, and his love for the fighters and the sport will be hurting as well as the families and everybody involved.
Yeah, no question. Hopefully it is. We do see some change.
And Eddie is correct. I mean, we have in the United States, the commissions is like sovereign nations, and they provide their own rules. So I recall that in Nevada, there is oxygen at the ringside.
Maryland, Maryland,
So the paramedics would have been able to give him oxygen if the fight had been in Nevada, but it was in Maryland. And the Maryland Commission is good, but they don't require oxygen in the ring.
Damn.
And the promoter really can't interfere with that.
Nope.
Because the paramedics, that type of thing, that's the province of a commission. And they don't like the promoters. They don't want the promoters getting involved in that. So, for example, if that was Eddie's fight, and Eddie had said to them, "You must have oxygen in the ring," they would say, "No, that's not our
the
rule."
conversation last night. The cost is minuscule. It might be a couple of $1,000s a night, but you can't just turn up with a paramedic and oxygen and say to the commission, just to let you know, these are our doctors. We're going to put them ringside. It doesn't work like that.
Right. You get, thrown out.
Well, hopefully these commissions do look at this and there is some change of some level moving forward, whether it's brain scans or more activity.
Again, we're saying that, and Eddie's idea of oxygen, which is part of the protocol in Nevada, is a great one. But again, these commissions function as independent entities. And so it will be necessary for eminent doctors who are involved in the field of brain damage to convince the commissions that they have to require oxygen at ringside.
Hopefully that happens. All right, let's talk about you two. First of two major shows that we're going to see Top Rank and Matchroom work together with this summer. The first one, obviously Saturday night, Maurice Hooker, Jose Ramirez. The next one, later on in August, Vasily Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, unified 135-pound title. Working together, let me ask you for that first. Bob, what's been your experience like working with Eddie?
Yeah.
Well, you remember, I have a great advantage because I worked with his father. So, for me, it's not, it's pretty much the same. I mean, Eddie's father's a great guy, and we had fun all over the world, except one place where he got a fight canceled because they didn't come up with the money. Hong Kong, So, Eddie's learned from his father. He's a professional, and that's all you look for a promoter who is a competing promoter, that he's a professional. And if he's a professional and he has any kind of sense, which Eddie does, you can put together fights between camps.
They gonna start blaming
always been done.
You can start blaming everyone.
This stuff that was going on here in the United States because of PBC.
Here we go.
Absolutely unfathomable.
You see it coming.
Let me just ask you, follow up on that. Your experience working with Barry Hearn so many years ago. What do you remember about those days?
A lot of laughs. we had a good time. We always had a good time. Barry got this guy from a little town in England at a little soccer club to go for his lungs for a fight with Herbie Hyde and Michael Bennett. Yeah, I remember that. In a big soccer stadium where it was Eddie I and maybe 10 other people.
Millwall. That was Millwall.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened in that fight?
I think Hyde knocked him out because Michael Bennett had made this reputation. He was a ham and egger, and that's why we put him in with Tommy Morrison, who wanted a tune-up fight before he fought Lennox Lewis. So we got Michael Bennett and Morrison. I'll never forget that fight was in Oklahoma. gets him up against the ropes, and he's pounding the hell out of Ben, where Ben, in desperation, throws a right hand and knocks Morrison cold, which got him the fight with Herbie Hyde.
Don't worry, Herbie Hyde went on to fight Riddick Bowe. That didn't end as well.
Right.
I remember that about Tommy Morrison. Your experiences, Eddie, working with Bob?
Good, really good relationship with the team, to be honest. I've always said that I think coming to America, the closest thing to Matchroom in terms of what we've been doing in the UK, in terms of the brand, in terms of the credibility, in terms of the professionalism, in terms of the making fights, is Top Rank. I think we're quite similar as a company in that respect. We've got the love for the sport, obviously through Bob and through my father, that's been inherited through me as well. And dealing with Bob's great because Bob will say whatever he wants. He reminds me a lot of my dad in that respect. He's too old to care. My dad says to me all the time, I'm not interested in lying. I'm going to tell the truth. I don't care if you like it or not. This is how it is. And that's what you got to like about Bob. But one thing I love about Bob is there's so much ego in this sport in terms of making fights. Bob will mercilessly slag you off to your face, right, at a press conference. And then you will leave that press conference like, I can't believe it. And then he'll call you a minute later and go, great press conference. Anyway, about this other fight we've got to make. But I will, you've got to have enough about you to act in the best interest of your business and your fighters. To not worry about he said, she said. There's too many people in this game who are worried about someone tweeted that and he said that. So I'm not making a fight. I'm not dealing with them, right? You're never going to really, in fact, this goes, you're not really ever going to really like Bob Arum or Eddie Hearn because we're quite opinionated. We'll say what we believe. But Bob doesn't care what's said. He will always look at the business and the fight and the fighter and the opportunity. And he's got this great ability to just put all that in the back. Whatever's been said in the past is irrelevant. He might have a situation I was seeing the other day with Mikey Garcia, with a history of humour. Like Bob would have no problems in moving forward with a fight with these people. Whether it's Al Heyman, this was said in the past, Bob would make those fights, because he's got the ability to put that to the side and focus on the business. In terms of the fights we've made together, there's quite a lot more than down there. I mean, and Dongo against Crawford was an undisputed fight that we made together. Joseph Parker against Anthony Joshua, Lomachenko against Kroller. Now this one, this is quite groundbreaking because it's the first DAZN fight that we've managed to make together. Lomachenko against Campbell, August 31st at the O2. So good in the fact that Bob is, I'm always out of my depth in terms of knowledge and what Bob knows, about boxing, about business. I bring a slightly fresher approach, newer approach, and I might know more in certain smaller areas. But actually, I use a lot of the time around Bob to learn and listen. And it's not just because he sat here, but you can't. If I don't take knowledge from someone who's been in the game as long as Bob Arum, I'd be an idiot. So every relationship so far has been good. Good team of people. I see so many similarities from Harrison to our guy Sean Palmer to Carl Moretti to our guy Eric Botcher. Brad Goodman, all really good people. And at the end of the day, life's too short to have bad experiences. So every experience with them so far, touch wood, and especially when we win. I mean, don't forget, Maurice Hooke beat Saucedo in Oklahoma. That was a great night for us. And this is, again, this is competition on Saturday. That's what I love about this fight. I really want Maurice to beat Ramirez, and I really want Matchroom to beat Top Rank on Saturday.
Bob, have you always been that way? I mean, you started working at fights in 1962.
What?
You started working in fights?
No, not really. 1965.
Okay.
The first fight was 66.
First fight. No, but you did. You worked like the revenue of
Grabbing the money from the Patterson Liston fight is not working.
Okay, all right, fine. Semantics. But have you always been like that when it comes to just say what's on your mind and don't take things personally? Or is that something that's evolved over the years in you?
Well, it's evolved in the sense. I remember there was one incident that there was Sports Illustrated when it was really Sports Illustrated. It was like the Bible. Everybody read it.
We still think it's pretty good.
When people read Sports Illustrated,
we still think people read it. Okay.
Well, they don't anymore. That's another point. Anyway,
They don't, man.
there was a writer named Mark Cram, and he was assigned to write an article about me I was promoting the second Ali Fraser fight. And we had a great time. He'd come up. I was separated from my wife then. We had an apartment. I'm drinking, went out to dinner, and we were real friends. And the article starts out that way, and it ends it up crazy. Like he had quotes me as saying that Ali is nothing, that I'm the boss, not Ali, which crap that I would never ever say, even when I was drunk, and we found out later that my friend Don King had loaned Mark Graham money and forgave the debt as long as he'd write a bad article on me. And I was ashamed to go out on the street because everybody read Sports Illustrated in those days. And I was a member of the Friars Club. I didn't want to go to the Friars Club. I was so humiliated and embarrassed. And then finally, after a few days, I ventured out into the public. And people were coming up to me, congratulating me on the great article. So I realized that nobody reads. They see a picture, but nobody read the article. So nothing since then has ever bothered me about anything.
I've got a question, Chris, because I find this fascinating. 10 years I've been doing this, Bob, so but like the ability to think on your feet with a problem, and also to realize like things happen, might have been, Jarrell Miller, might have been Joshua losing, where 5 or 6 years ago, I would have just crumbled and cried and gone to my dad and gone, I can't do it. Yeah. But your nerve ends in terms of solving problems or dealing with an issue. Because sometimes if I've got a problem, my dad makes 0 decisions in boxing. But I will always phone him up and say, just to let you know, there's a problem. This is what's happened. No problem. This is what you do. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. You get off the phone, you go, wow. And it's the ability, like you must not have any emotions, in terms of the business and dealing with issues and problems.
Eddie, you have the emotion, but you can't let the emotion take over.
Yeah.
In other words, you've got to push it back. Your father, Barry, has the same kind of mentality. He thinks, what is the problem and how does the problem get solved without emotions entering into it? Yeah. Because once you let emotions take over, you're not thinking clearly.
Exactly.
To that end, I mean, the 4 days I spent with you in Houston reporting the magazine post 5, 6 years ago now was the most fun I've ever spent reporting a story, because and to your question there, one of the stories that came out of it was one that Kathy Duba told me about how you dealt with Mayweather Gotti. And when you can recount the story, but it was when Gotti didn't show up at the first press conference.
Gotti, we had a big press conference, Mayweather Gotti, which was a fairly big fight at the time. And Mayweather's there and Kathy's in a coffee shop with me, and they can't find Gotti because he had been drunk out the night before.
Yeah.
And so she said, what are we going to say? What are we going to do? I said, Kathy, let me in. So I got up and I said, today we have the press conference, but we're holding 2 press conferences because these guys hate each other so much, we can't put them together. They went for it, hook, line, and sinker, the press did, and we made, a really good thing out of something that was bad, him not showing up at the press conference.
You must have to do a lot of that thinking on the fly. In boxers, they're unpredictable.
Yeah. Well, less so now, I think, than they used to be. I think I really begin to see boxers as not being as uncontrollable as they were back in the 60s and 70s or 80s. When I remember we had an Argentine guy who was a champion, Hugo Coro, his name was, and he would get it to a fight. We were doing a fight in Monte Carlo, him against Antifermo. And 2 days before, he says, I'm not fighting. And Tito Lectori, who was his promoter from Argentina, asked him why. And he said, because I don't feel like fighting. Hey, we got all the cameras here and all that stuff. You can't just walk out. You're going to lose your title. Finally, he ended up going into the ring, but he was true to his word. He didn't fight. And Antifermo won the fight.
How were the great fighters to deal with that? Like in the '80s, dealing with the four kings in that generation, Hagler and Hearns, and the fights you put on with them.
Really superb people.
Yeah.
They were true professionals. They had their quirks, but they were professionals. Nobody can have been more professional than Ray. Ray Leonard, terrific professional guy. Knew when to smile, knew what to say. Tommy Hearn had a real presence about him, and Tommy would say what he felt. Great guy to promote. And Tommy and Ray, when we did fights between them, I would be a participant because I played poker with them. But forget poker, we played every ghetto game known to man. I could have written a book in those days about ghetto games like Tunk and this. I mean, I had become an expert, and they would fight for me because we had two planes, to be on their planes so they could play with me. But it was really an interesting time. Roberto Duran, one of the most engaging people that I ever met. I mean, he would put on a show, play musical instruments, and Hagler was the one who was the introvert, but I could always count on Marvin when I needed him. And he was the most loyal guy. There was a fight we were doing in Worcester, Massachusetts, between Marvin and Tony Simpson, an English fighter. And we went to the fight from the hotel. You could walk and when we came out of the fight after Hagler had knocked Simpson out, there was at least a foot of snow. It was nearby snow. So we stayed in the back till we figured out how we were going to get back to the hotel. And Don King was there. And he went to Hagler's mother. And he said, "You've got to get this guy away. You got to get your son away from this white guy," and he made reference to my religious beliefs and so forth. And the mother went to Marvin to report the conversation from King. And Marvin went absolutely bananas, told his mother if she ever got involved in his business, he would stop supporting her. But Hagler was the most loyal guy when he didn't want to fight anymore after the Hearns fight. And we got him to fight Mugabe and then Sugar Ray Leonard. And Mike Trainer, who was the lawyer for Leonard, said that he didn't want Top Rank to promote the fight. And Hagler said, "Well, there's no fight unless Top Rank is the promoter." And Hagler was. I remember one other incident because I really loved Hagler. He was sitting with Pat Petronelli in his house in New Hampshire. And Pat had gone with me to New Hampshire to talk Marvin into taking the Leonard fight. So I see Pat, I'm sitting in the car, and Pat is at outdoor table with Marvin, and Marvin starts pounding on the table. Pat comes back to the car. I said, "What was that all about?" He said, "The guy is crazy." I said to him, Pat said, I said to him that if you do the Leonard fight, my brother and I will cut a percentage from 33 1/3%, which they got, they shared, to 15%. And Hagler started hitting the table and said, "I don't know if I'm going to fight that guy. But if I fight that guy, you're going to take the 33 1/3%." And he is that kind of person. Real tremendous integrity.
And when you think back to, when you were a kid, following your father and watching what he did in the relationships that he had with fighters,
Hagler
is it different than the kind of relationships you have with fighters now? Do you try to have the same type of relationships? How has that evolved?
I think a lot of it depends on the size of your stable. When you're representing 5, 6 guys, 8 guys, 12 guys, it's very easy to have a closer relationship with them. Some fighters you just click with. Some fighters you've got that relationship. You might have started the pro debut with them, and you get to a world championship level. You're very close. Sometimes, as Bob will know, sometimes a manager might get involved in the relationship and make sure you're not too close, which is for me ludicrous. Because if I was a fighter, I want my promoter to be as motivated as possible to deliver for me, and that comes in the form of a close relationship. You know, some fighters I've never even spoken to.
Wow.
The manager won't let me speak to them.
Yeah, good.
Because they're afraid you might start dealing with them and their job. You know, they're not adding as much value to the situation. And I have to be honest with you, I think a lot of managers are a complete waste of time.
Nah, man.
Because the relationship generally is between the fighter, the promoter. The fighter's got a lawyer. You know, sometimes it's very interesting dynamic in the US of the promoter and the manager. Obviously, with the RLE Act, you know, you can't do both of those. And in the UK, you can, which is ludicrous. Because how could you be negotiating a purse for a fighter against a promoter who's actually the same person as the person negotiating for the management? So a lot of the time, you know, in terms of relationships with the fighters, you have your fighters that you've got that very close relationship with. In terms of growing up around my father, just sitting in his study, just being in the gym, just following him on every trip I could, not trying to gain knowledge, but it just seeps into you. And I saw him in the struggle of boxing. Now, we talked about Hong Kong. That was a horrific occasion for everybody. You know, he went out there to do a fight. The government, whoever was backing it, didn't pay. He had to make the call at the weigh-in to say, I'm not doing it. That was at the weigh-in of a world heavyweight title fight.
You there?
I was there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was there. And I remember.
It's been a real little shaver.
Great trip. Yeah, great trip. But I remember, you know, what you don't see is the being around, you know, after. You know, my dad's flying home. He's pissed off. He's stressed. He's angry. But at the time,
and people who are your friends, like we gave people opportunity to fight on the undercard, only they ended up suing me because they lost the purse.
So you know, all the problems that I have now, he had. And, you know, he walked away from boxing probably 15, 20 years ago now because he had enough. You know, he just said, I don't need this in my life. I found these sports, which actually makes me more money and much less aggravation. Yeah. But he still loves it. You know, he came to the show last Saturday. He's up, you know.
Yeah, that's what he's the drugs, man.
I mean, he gets in the ring. You know, we had an incident with when Amir Khan boxed Paul McCloskey.
Yeah, I remember that.
Paul McCloskey got a tiny cut. The ref jumped in and stopped the fight. Next thing, my dad's in the ring.
Yeah, I remember
going up to the ref, going up to Oscar De La Hoya, grabbing McCloskey. Look at this. I was like, Dad, I'm almost got to ban him from the events now because he can't help himself. You know, he's extremely opinionated, extremely knowledgeable,
like you.
And he loves boxing. He loves the buzz and all the other sports that Matchroom are involved with. Over 11 sports. He knows deep down that none of them give him the night that boxing does.
Yeah, boxing.
Was taking over as the head of Matchroom, the boxing part of it anyway. Was that something you all?
No, never. I mean, boxing. You know, I started off when I left school. I went to work for a sports management company, independent. I remember going for the interview, and the guy looked at me and said, "Are you related to Barry Hearn?" I said, "Yes." My dad said, "What are you doing here?" But I wanted to do that. I didn't want to go and just work for him. And then I went and worked on the PGA Tour in America for years, managing golfers. I was a sports agent for a big sports agency, and did that. And then I started actually talk about poker. I created all the big televised poker tournaments around the world. So that was what we were doing. We were putting on all these huge buy-in poker tournaments that were televised. And unfortunately, from there, I was sitting at the World Series of Poker, and I bumped into Audley Harrison, who was an Olympic heavyweight, won gold for Great Britain. And he tried to do his own thing, come unstuck, and was looking for a way back in. And I just said, yeah, I'll do the boxing. I'll give you a fight. You can win that. Then I'll put you in for the European title. Then we'll fight David Haye for the world title. And I remember telling my dad, he said, because he was one of those guys, and Bob will be the same. What my dad hated about boxing was fighters trying to think they knew how to be promoters. And Audley Harrison was a guy who said, I'm my own promoter. I do my own deals.
Yeah.
I do. And it all just came crumbling down in embarrassment. Anyway, next thing, I've given Audley Harrison one fight. He's won the next fight, the European title. And I've negotiated a fight to fight David Haye for the world heavyweight title. It was awful. He got stopped in the third round. He didn't throw a punch.
Yeah.
I left that night out of the arena saying, I'm never, ever doing this again. But after that, Carl Frochbull, Earl Brook called, Darren Barker called.
Yeah.
We signed all three within a week. And the UK was at the right time where everybody was lazy. The fights were taking place in leisure centres. There was 500 people in there. Sky weren't really committed to the sport because they couldn't see the reaction or the interest from the viewers or the fans in the arenas. And we just took a few gambles and we started to try and create big events again. And it went from there.
Bob, have you dealt with that a lot? Fighters wanting to be promoters?
a lot. I mean, all the time. You know, particularly a lot of fighters see me having a good time and see how successful I've been with their careers. And so everybody has a guy whispering in his ear, Schaefer whispering in Oscar's ear, go out and do your own promotions. Heyman whispering in Mayweather's ears. So yeah, I mean, of course you will, because there's always somebody around the fighter who sees the promoter as making money, and they then feel that they can take the place of as an advisor or whatever to get part of that money. Where you don't see fighters asking to promote themselves if you're losing money. Like, for example,
they love to be on the poster, but they don't want to take any risks.
Right. Like, for example, Manny Pacquiao, you know, I promoted very successfully Manny Pacquiao for years. And then the last years, a couple of years, he wasn't drawing the way he was doing 1 million homes on pay-per-view, and then it went down to 300,000.
You're talking that shit.
And he wanted not only to get the same money I was paying him, but more. And of course, Al Heyman came along, and not realizing the numbers were the numbers, gave him what he asked for, and has dropped millions of dollars on the 2 fights. Now, that's stupid. But maybe Al has a grand plan.
Yeah, he's getting
as far as Pacquiao is concerned. And he's going to keep Pacquiao fighting until he's 50 years old, and maybe somehow have a winner.
The last thing I want to say about your working with you on that story, Bob, was I remember writing the section about you promoting fights in South Africa and all the things you told me about your experiences there. And you gave me the number for Saul Kersner, and I called him, and I had a conversation with him, and I wrote the whole section, and I got a call from my editor being like, "You have to rewrite this." I go to him, he goes, "You're making it sound like Bob solved apartheid in South Africa."
No. Let me say this in our defense, that Mandela was in prison then. And when Mandela got out of prison, he and Saul Kersner became tremendous friends, because Mandela loved boxing and followed this and told Saul, and then did a clip for Saul when he was being honored, Saul Kersner, that what we did, insisting that apartheid seating ended in all fight, every arena had to be integrated and so forth, really helped in the transition from the apartheid government to a democratic government under Mandela. And that assuages any kind of criticism that I got from, legitimate criticism from Arthur Ashe and people like that for doing fights in South Africa. What we did, I believe, was the right thing. At any event, I suffered a friggin' king. He grabbed onto that immediately, and there was a political activist who became later a big political commentator, Reverend Al Sharpton. The Reverend was at my office downstairs every day picketing me. Now, the office that I had then was in Manhattan, and there had been a real estate crisis. And when we moved into the office, we were the first tenant in this beautiful building on Park Avenue and 56th Street. So we got in for very, very little money. And we were still there at the time that the rents had gone through the roof, because it was one of the most desirable buildings in New York. So here was all these banks and all these very fancy companies, and Al Sharpton and his minions were, outside or in the lobby picketing me, right? And of course, King had paid them money. And a year or two later, when King was in a position with a fighter named Page, what did he do? He made a deal to do a fight in South Africa.
Oh, boxing. Eddie, you've got the benefit of having kind of fresh eyes, getting in this business about 10 years ago. And there's a kind of a formula that's formed over the last few decades of how to promote fights, right? It's, press conference, open workout, whatever. But you seem to take some different approaches to it. How do you look at putting your own kind of spin on the best way to promote a show?
Well, I think a lot of our success has emerged through the growth of social and digital media. I mean, particularly in the UK, both completely different markets, the UK and America.
Yeah.
Which Bob reminded me of many times. And it's been an amazing learning experience promoting fights here in the last 8 months, which is the time we've been here promoting fights. And it's fascinating to work in the different markets, in the different cities, in the different states. What we've done in the UK is to try and change the perception of the sport. There was a feel that it was, it wasn't trendy, it wasn't sexy to go to a boxing event because it was in your local leisure centre and it was half full. So whether that's trying to be in big arenas, whether that's trying to get the build right in terms of the hype and the promotion digitally, whether that's the music, whether that's the perception, celebrities, you have to make a sport hot, or at least let it be perceived to be hot. I remember going to, it was actually when Daniel Jacobs got knocked out for the WBO world title at Mandalay Bay years ago. And then on the next night was Darwin against Lesnar for the UFC. And I remember going to the Danny Jacobs fight. I was looking at the crowd in the boxing, and there was people there, sort of sitting there with a
Shane
4-litre Coca-Cola and the popcorn on the other side and sort of half asleep. And then I went to the UFC event the next night, and it blew my mind. People drinking champagne, people dressed up to the nines. The vibe was completely different. And that transcends through the TV screen, as far as I'm concerned. If you're watching an event and it's half empty and there's no atmosphere, what kind of message is that put into a potential fan or to a viewer? So in the UK, it was really about changing the image of the sport. And we've done that really well. I mean, we had 13,000 at the show last week. We've sold 14,000 for Lomachenko Campbell. That'll have an 18,000 sellout. We've done 90,000 for Joshua, 80,000 for Joshua, 80,000 for Joshua. Hey Bellew, 20,000 twice. Brooks, I mean, it's phenomenal. But there's a lot of work to do in the US. In terms of our approach, it is that freshness. And it's about the build, it's about the hype, it's about the perception of the sport. But it still comes down to the same product, which is the fights.
So you're taking over, Eddie.
Ultimately, if you haven't got the product, if you haven't got the quality, the sport won't sell. But once you bring people in and show them this sport, I feel very passionately about this sport. Everybody sitting in this room, everybody that's touched boxing and felt boxing, they'll never leave. So how do you bring that new audience in? And for the UK, once we'd captivated the hardcore fight fan, it was then about working on the casual fan, the soccer fan, the guy who dips in and out. How do you make them come into sport? Because that casual market is the only way you're going to hit big numbers. And the same applies to pay-per-view or big events in the US. The only way you're going to hit the millions and the millions is to have a fighter, a brand or a promotion that hits that casual market. One of the big problems in the US is the amount of sports. We don't have that problem in the UK. Boxing's probably number 2. Over here, you've got all your sports, plus you've got the college system. I mean, boxing is right down the pecking order.
Yeah, what Eddie's saying is right. And we have used what UFC has done as a model. You can't, first of all, newspapers are becoming a thing of the past in the United States.
Digital media, bro.
There are a couple of newspapers that people still read, like the LA Times, the Washington Post, New York Times. Many of whom, other than the LA Times, don't even report on boxing anymore. So you have to reach the people through social media. And you have to make going to the fights an enjoyable experience. So therefore, what we're trying to do at Top Rank is have a lot of light shows, great music, because people used to sit around and talk, and there was nothing happening between fights. Now we have music even between rounds.
Sweet
and we do a lot of video, and we learn from basketball that you give away T-shirts, and you do a lot of stuff to make it an interesting experience. And what Eddie is saying, it's less so in the United Kingdom because they still have newspapers and national newspapers. But in the United States, we have none of that. I mean, we just had a Pacquiao fight with Thurman, a pretty good fight. New York Times never wrote one word about the fight. The only boxing article in the New York Times
That's a problem.
in the last 2 months has been about, unfortunately, what happened to Max Statovich, his death.
That's terrible.
So, I mean, you can't count on the papers. You've got to use social media, and it's expensive, and that's the only way you're going to reach the people. And Eddie is quite right. You've got to dress up your arena so you have famous people sitting there, people having a good time, and other people then want to come to the event because it's the thing to do.
Eddie, how have you found that, because you've had some fights that have had some good crowds. I thought Demetrius Andrade drew pretty well for his first time fighting in Providence, but you're not getting the 15, 20, 25,000 that I'm sure you're hoping to get at some of these venues you're putting these fights in. What have been the challenges in drawing those type of crowds?
Well, ironically, the only time we did get that 20,000 crowd was with a Brit in Joshua against Ramirez. I don't see a lot of those 15, 20,000 crowds anywhere away from the super fights or Canelo fights or those kind of. It's hard. It's really hard. And one thing that we're finding is, and this is so obvious and so simple, and Bob did it with Terence Crawford, he's taking people home, giving them a chance to actually perform in their city.
Yes.
Where the people in their city will have passion and emotion for their own.
Yeah.
If you're from Providence, and people said to me, oh, Demetrius Andrade's not a draw, he won't sell, but he's never boxed in Providence. He's a 3-time 2-weight world champion. So if he's not going to sell a ticket in his hometown, what chance have you got anywhere? So we take him to Providence. We had 7,000 in there. You were there. The atmosphere was incredible because they care. They have emotion. They know who he is. I feel that the US audience and the people in the arena aren't educated enough. They don't know who's on the card. We had a show in Kansas. You were there. We sold 4,500 tickets. The kid who boxed the Olympian in an 8-round fight, he boxed. 2,500 people went home. We still had Clarissa Shields and Jarrell Miller to come. I'm saying, in the UK, for people to leave before the co-main event and the main event is incomprehensible. But these people, one, they didn't know who Clarissa Shields and who Jarrell Miller was. Two, I don't even think they knew there was 2 more fights to come.
Well, we had an instant in Stockton, California, which isn't a big place. We had like 11,000 in, and we had this 8-round kid who was starting out, Gabe Flores, and he's the local kid. And then we made him the semifinal, and the final was a big light heavyweight fight with Beat-a-Boff. It was a terrific, for people in boxing, attraction because he's a very exciting knockout fighter. Well, after the Flores fight, half of the people left. It looked like an empty arena.
It's the worst feeling for a promoter because people are watching. And I remember sitting in Kansas and I was just looking around after that everyone left for those 2 fights, thinking this just looks terrible. It's really tough. And what I've found, and I know this sounds obvious, but is in the UK, London's London, Manchester's Manchester, even Glasgow, Scotland's Glasgow, so they're all very similar in terms of the strategy, the people, the mindset, the punter. In the US, the fan in Dallas is completely different to the fan in New York or Los Angeles.
Ethnically and otherwise.
And mindset in terms of what works, in terms of their social media activity. Some people, some states, some cities, they're not off their phones. Some haven't even got tablets and phones, so it's really difficult. That's been the biggest challenge for us, is getting it right. I think we've done 10 events. I think we got it right 3 or 4 times. Philadelphia, Chicago was really positive for us. Providence, LA not so bad. We'll have a good crowd in here on Saturday night. But it's a big fight. If we get 5,000 or 6,000 in to watch Maurice Hooke against Ramirez, we should be having 20,000 in to watch Hooke Ramirez. But this is what we've got to work on in the sport. I'm sure Bob's been frustrated with it for years and years. But for a new guy coming into the market, learning all the time, and realizing we've got a hell of a lot to learn before we get it right.
The market is really, really bad because I think it was easier before because the newspapers and people read the newspapers. to get people's attention to what these fights are is very, very hard. And we're working on it. But social media may very well be that's what saved and made UFC what it's become.
Yeah.
Social media. They have millions and millions of people watching clips and so forth on social media.
Yeah.
And when we get fighters, because they're all pretty aware now, why aren't you promoting me on social media? We tell them, hey, we're going to send you clips of your fight. You send them out. You build up an audience.
Yeah.
Because if it's coming from the fighter, it's much, much better than when it's coming from the promoter.
Eddie made the point about, and you've done this for decades, about putting a guy in his hometown or a guy in a targeted market, whether it's putting a Hispanic fighter in New York or Bud Crawford in Omaha. I feel like that's something that's been problematic in boxing, maybe when it comes to people grabbing the casino money. And the casino money might give you a short-term boost, but it doesn't give you the benefit of building.
People talk about this casino money. I don't see too much casino money these days.
No.
I mean,
you see, casino money will come if you build an attraction. For example, we knew instinctively that to build Marvin Hagler, you had to build him in New England. And we made him a force in New England. And when we moved him for big fights to Las Vegas, he came with 5,000 people from New England. They had tours, they had everything.
That just don't happen anymore, Bob, does it? I mean, where do you see traveling fans now?
Well,
really?
now with Crawford's fans,
from Omaha.
From Omaha. It's very, very hard. I mean, with Lomachenko, where are they going to travel from? From the Ukraine? A lot more difficult.
I want to go back to making fights between you two. And Bob, when you were negotiating, deals with Don King or somebody else, a lot of times the platform was the same. The deals were different, but the platform was the same that you'd be trying to make a deal with. This is different now. There's so many platforms that you're dealing with. How big a fight is it in negotiations in deciding which platform the fight is going to be on?
Well, it's pretty obvious. If it's a fight with Joshua, it's going to be on DAZN. If it's a fight with Lomachenko in the United States, it's going to be on ESPN. So, I mean, perfect example. Eddie is doing the fight in England with Campbell and Lomachenko, and in the United States, Canada, the fight will be seen on ESPN. That was the deal we made. Now, when Eddie came to us about Ramirez, who has been on ESPN, but is not one of their marquee guys like Lomachenko, and Eddie offered us the deal, and we went to ESPN, and ESPN said, of course, So now we've established a precedent where make the best fights for your fighters, whatever platform they're on. I mean, you take other sports, the NFL, college football, they're on Fox, they're on ESPN, they're on CBS, and everybody now has learned, every network has learned to promote the other guy's football game because it's good for the sport. Same thing should be in boxing. The fact that Ramirez is on DAZN helps DAZN because it's a good fight with Hooker, but it doesn't diminish ESPN, doesn't diminish us. It makes it another a way to showcase our fighting.
And by the way, it's good to work with platforms who understand the opportunities for fighters. Like obviously ESPN do, DAZN do as well. You can actually have a sensible conversation where you say, this is a great opportunity for the fighter. He's been offered a great purse here. I think you should really consider. Too much, in my opinion, is made of boxing politics. It's really straightforward. We work for these networks. Our job is to provide them with the best content and the best fighters. Okay? So, obviously, as Bob quite clearly said, people like Anthony Joshua, the top high-end guys, whether it's Canelo, whether it's Golovkin, DAZN are going to, they're paying the money to keep those subscription drivers on the platform. Okay, that's our job. So it's nothing to do with politics. It's just business. It's quite straightforward. Same with Bob, Lomachenko, Crawford, Fury, all these guys. ESPN, that's what they're paying the money for. It's not about we don't want to put them on another platform. We don't want to deal with another promoter. No, our job is to deliver for our platform. And that's what we're doing.
Correct. And the only way you can do that is to cross-pollinate. I mean, the way I look at it, Ramirez is coming to the zone to fight Hooker on Saturday. I go in with one title. If Ramirez is successful, I come back to ESPN with two titles.
That's why I like it, because it's a gamble.
Right.
Yeah.
For both of us. Like it's called all or nothing.
You have to take that.
Yeah.
You go in with a title, you leave with nothing, or you leave with it all.
Or you leave with two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it in dealing with Bob and making the deals with him? Has it been? I mean, you haven't made a ton of deals with PBC. I know the Andrew Ruiz fight, but
I've made a lot of deals with BBC, especially early on. Especially early on. Since we came to America, not so.
that's what I'm more talking
Yeah,
about.
because it's very simple. Al doesn't want, Al does not have these fighters under promotional agreements. Bob is free to sign any PBC fighter. So am I. So that all of a sudden deflates the value of that business, because every fighter is clear or free to go to another platform or promotional company. But they'll hang on as best they can to those fighters. And I've made offers to PBC fighters 4 or 5 times what they're earning at the moment. But somehow he manages to keep them. Good operator. But, in that respect, we're more of a threat now to the PBC. In the past, we were a guy who would pay some money for a PBC fighter. We'd have an opponent for a PBC fighter. It was almost like a bit of a trade-off. Now, and we do that with Top Rank. But since we've been in the US market, we've actually done more business with Top Rank, which is quite unusual, because they've had the vision to say, no, it's fine. I mean, DAZN and ESPN are both subscription channels. So everybody that has ESPN Plus has the capability to know how to digest content digitally and on an app. So we have our customers are your customers. I mean, that's really
anybody who's interested in boxing and wants to watch boxing and is, so inclined, they're going to buy ESPN Plus, but they'll also buy DAZN. I mean, it's not that isn't that competition that they're mutually exclusive. They're not. They're not, because I know many people that have DAZN, but almost everybody that has DAZN has ESPN Plus, and a lot of people who have ESPN Plus have DAZN. So it's not mutually, and who else has found out that? The networks. It used to be, hey, you don't mention a football game on Fox because it's going to take viewers from us at the same time zone. Now they realize by promoting each other's games, they're helping the sport and they're helping themselves. Years ago, you wouldn't have seen a Fox television broadcast saying, watch this game that's coming up next on CBS or TNT. They do that now. And as a matter of fact, they put announcing teams together. And that really has enhanced the importance of the sport and helped everybody.
It hasn't worked that way, though, on the boxing side, as you know, because Fox and PBC put on a lot of fights. They have a lot of big welterweight fights. You never hear Terrence Crawford's name mentioned.
Well, isn't that stupid?
Yes.
Okay, that's stupid. I can't deal with stupidity. They put up a big thing, all the welterweight champions, and they don't show Crawford. And so what does that mean? That people who are watching it or know boxing, first thing they say, where's Crawford? If they had put him up, nobody would have mentioned anything.
Well, they put Pacquiao's secondary title up there before the fight.
Okay.
Which is nonsense, that's what I'm saying.
You have to understand that Fox is not really, they're just starting in the sport. So they'll learn.
You mentioned, Eddie, that it's a competition, in a fight like this. You want your guy to win. You want Matchroom to beat Top Rank. in the grand scheme,
But only for the love of the sport. Like, really, I'm not thinking about, it's just that on Saturday night, it's a one-off event. It's a unification, complete 50-50 fight between two world champions, one promoted by Matcher and one promoted by Top Rank. I want to win every fight, but when it's like that, when it's a big unification, they're the nights you really get up for. Not so I can turn around and say to Bob, it's the competition.
Back in the 80s, 70s and the 80s, when we used to do fights, particularly in Europe and England, before the fight, every promoter would sit down and we'd have dinner. We'd have like Sabatini from Italy, Tito Lectori from Argentina, Mickey Duff and Jarvis from the United States, and we'd all be collegial. And we'd all have our fighters and so forth. I remember a famous fight in England where in those days, promoters, we get a share in fighters. So we had a piece of Alan Minter and they had a piece of Marvin Hagler. So at dinner the night before, Mickey Duff got telling us how Minter was going to destroy Hagler, who he felt had no heart. And so I traded my interest in Minter for his interest in Hagler, and because Hagler knocked him out the next day. But anyway, we had that type of a relationship. And that is very, very important, that promoters, yes, they compete, but they got to be collegial. They got to be collegial for the good of themselves and the good of the sport.
So the goal isn't then, I mean, you talk about the UFC and what they have going, and there's competition out there for the UFC, but in terms of the top tier guys, they've got most of them. But do you
UFC is totally different.
Okay, but is not the goal to have a monopoly, to have every fighter, to put other promoters out of business?
But that has been shown not to be possible in boxing. Boxing is different from the UFC. The UFC wasn't even, the mixed martial art wasn't even a sport when the UFC started it, and they then formed their own group and so forth. And it's different. Maybe it changes at one time down the line, but it's different. In boxing, it was all different groups, different promoters, different interests. And it's totally not the same as the UFC. Now, Heyman has wanted now to make PBC the same as UFC. His goal, he got $500 million from this mutual fund, and he spent it in buying time from the various networks to freeze out other promoters so that he would then turn boxing into a UFC. He would buy promotional companies, he would end up buying Top Rank, and he would control boxing. That ain't gonna happen. That can't happen. And if you run your model that way to knock out all competition and become a UFC of boxing, you're gonna really spend money stupidly, because it ain't going to work.
Eddie, you agree?
I do. I think it's completely impossible to come in, and I think it's a bad strategy to try and think that you can control the sport of boxing. To even attempt to do that, it's going to cost you a lot of money, and then at the end of it, you're going to realise you've wasted a lot of money, because people like Top Rank, people like Matchroom, they're not going anywhere. They've got a great stable of fighters. They've got heavy financial support from networks and platforms, so they're not going to wilt. And whilst that's there, you can never eradicate those companies or those promotional companies, because they have the ability to sign fighters. The only way you can get rid of those companies is to buy them out and take a control of the marketplace, which again is very difficult because of various things involved, egos and positions and contracts and et cetera, et cetera. Or you have to just realise, we've got our war fund, we're going to build the best stable of fighters possible, and we're going to try and put on the best fights possible. Stay in your lane. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm not going out there saying, we're going to take over America. We're going to take over Top Rank. Put these guys out of business. Put that.
That's what you said.
We've got a budget from a platform, which we're very lucky to have, who are aggressively pursuing boxing content, and they've backed us to deliver for them, and we will deliver for them. But we will build our stable, we will build the best fights possible, but we'll also understand the market and know how the game works. And, you know, the PBC's plan was definitely to do that. I think originally to eradicate belts, you know, governing body belts, and have the PBC belt. I mean, that's, you know, the governing bodies is another conversation for another podcast.
And one thing Eddie points out, why it's impossible in boxing, is because we have a feeder system in boxing, and that's the amateur program, which culminates in the Olympics. And there are great fighters coming out every 4 years. Really great fighters. And the idea that you're going to capture a market and get all of those great fighters coming out every 4 years is ridiculous. Eddie will get some, we'll get some, we know who we'll get, he knows who he's going to get, and, you know, we'll see how those fighters can be built for the future.
That brings me to the next thing I want to ask. Two things I want to finish with here, and that's one thing I think that makes me optimistic and others optimistic about the future of boxing is that the 25 and under group is really strong. There's a lot of, I think, really good fighters in that range. I had this conversation with Teofimo on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. You have working with Devin Haney now, who is a really compelling prospect. There are a lot of guys. How do you approach signing the next generation of fighters to your stable? Is it, I'm going to get the best Olympians that are out there because you did that in 2016? You have some UK Olympians. The US guys are decorated amateurs, but me not so much with Nikita Bobby, who's on this card, and not Olympians. How do each of you approach going out and grabbing that next generation of fighter?
It's all talent and it's all connections, and they all keep me around in the office to sit with the kid and his mother, and I regale them with stories in the past and how we built up this fighter and that fighter, and ultimately they know what's happening, so they can see, for example, with a Shakur Stevenson, that we took him from the last Olympics, and before the next Olympics happens, he'll be a world champion, because that's the way it was always done before. So, and sometimes a fighter will see what Eddie has done with some of his fighters, and will join Eddie. So we'll get our share. We always get our share. Sometimes you're disappointed. I mean, we, after one Olympiad, got Jose Ramirez, Oscar Valdez, and Felix Verdejo. And we all thought that Verdejo would be the real great star. Yeah. And Jose won a title, and Oscar Valdez won a title, and they've made their mark, and Verdejo hasn't. And those three fighters fought the great Lomachenko in the amateurs. And I asked Vasily what he thought of those three fighters. And he said, well, Ramirez was okay. Valdez was good, but he was slow. And Felix Verdejo was the best fighter that I fought my entire amateur career. So I really thought I had something special. And then he went off the track. He had a dirt bike accident. Yeah. And I don't know if he'll ever be, what we hoped he would be. So it's a gamble. It's a gamble on all of them.
Eddie, what's your approach when you're looking at the next generation?
In terms of recruiting them, just showing them the vision, really, of our plans for the future, the opportunity for them to box in many different platforms and countries around the world. Of course, our deal in the US, the UK, in Italy, in Germany, in Spain. Show them again, like Bob does, you show them the model of what we've done with Anthony Joshua, going from the debut to the World Heavyweight Championship, from Callum Smith, going from the debut to #1 in the world at 168 pounds, and the model that we've used. Activity is key. And we're both lucky where we can actually pitch to a young fighter and say, we'll box you 8 times a year in your first year. That's quite unique to be able to do that. I think that's a big selling point for any young fighter is activity.
Yeah, what's Callum?
So lastly,
what's Callum did?
Both of you guys have a tentpole star. Bob, Terrence Crawford is the biggest star in your stable.
Hey, don't get me in trouble. What about Lomachenko?
Okay, Lomachenko's up. But for the sake of this discussion, let's just use Terrence Crawford out there and
140.
with Anthony Joshua on your side. What do you think of the way that your counterpart has promoted that fighter? And if you were promoting Anthony Joshua and if you were promoting Terrence Crawford, would you do anything differently?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I mean, again, Eddie's promoted Anthony Joshua essentially in the UK.
Yep.
And I was over at one of the fights in Cardiff, and there was a tremendous audience and a lot of enthusiasm, and I thought it was great. It's different. It's as the English say, there's horses for courses. So, I think he's done a great job promoting Joshua over in England. Now, promoting him in the United States, that's going to be another thing. And it's not necessarily doing it in Madison Square Garden and bringing over 10,000 Brits, But again, that fight was supposed to be a fight against Miller, who was a local guy and is a good talker. And so, nobody really took the Ruiz fight seriously.
Nope.
Including Joshua. So, I think he's done a good job with Joshua. As far as Crawford is concerned, it's a different country, and it's a much bigger country.
Mm-hmm.
And we elected to expose Crawford in like arenas like Madison Square Garden, but always to show him with a big base in Omaha, Nebraska, where we do 14, 15,000 people come out, and it's a big, big city event, and we have Warren Buffett sitting in the stands.
Way up in the stands.
Well, he doesn't like to sit ringside because he's smart. He's staying. It's not way up in the stand. He's at high level with the ring. He knows what he's doing, and he has a Crawford T-shirt on. So, again, it's different. It's different. We're a different country. Got to realize what you can do in the UK, you can't necessarily do in the United States.
That's right.
Eddie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the problem is fighting. In an ideal world, if the money was there on the gate, they may never leave Omaha. But it's tough because the visual impact of Crawford fighting in Omaha, those scenes that go worldwide, are great for his brand value. They make him. The perception is that Crawford is a star, and he is a star. But unfortunately, the ticket revenue in cities like that is very, very small. So, and you can't, if you have this national star, this global star, you can't just keep him in Omaha all the time. You've got to take him to Madison Square Garden. You've got to take him to Las Vegas. And that's what you do. You lose sometimes that passion, from the fan. That's what I love so much. I always say about Usyk. I'd love to box Usyk in Kiev, and they tell me do 80,000 at Dynamo Kiev Stadium, but the average ticket price would be $10 or $15. But the visual impact that would create for that fighter's brand and the pictures going worldwide might be worth the downside. But I think they've done the right thing with Crawford, in and out. Give him that homecoming, that feel, and then obviously expose him in the bigger.
Eddie mentions Usyk. Usyk is one of the most engaging people that I've met in boxing. He is highly intelligent. He's an actor, He made a lot of movies, Ukrainian movies. Tremendous guy. Those three Ukrainians who have risen to the top: Lomachenko, Usyk, and Bout, who's going to be fighting Beterbiev for a unification light heavyweight match. They are lovely, educated guys, very, very smart. Right? Don't you think Usyk is one of the smartest boxers you've met?
Absolutely. I mean, they're engaged. You have to expose that character and that personality to the fans, because we see it at dinner. Once you get them to relax a little bit, once you get them to joke around with each other, they're hilarious. The job is to show everybody else that, because in a press conference environment, they might just come in and say, or in Ukrainian or in Russian, or hello, thanks for having me. We look forward to a good fight.
I had them fighting once, all three of them. Even though we didn't promote Usyk, we He was on the card, an HBO card, the three of them, Lomachenko, Usyk, and Bout. So we had a reception in Washington, D.C. at the Ukrainian embassy. And I was on the floor. They were, I mean, they performed. They were just like relaxed, and it was really, really something to see. Three great, great young men.
I think when you're promoting fights, you need to educate the audience. You need to tell the story about these guys. And their story is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, where they've come from, Lomachenko's relationship with his father and the training techniques and stuff like that. Every fighter has a great story. And until you tell that story, until you let the public resonate with that fighter, it's very hard to get the emotion and the support behind that fighter. You need someone to say, yeah, Lomachenko, I love Lomachenko. He's crazy. Have you seen when he does that thing with the ball and with his dad and he's doing the handstand stuff and the tennis balls? Now, that's how you get the fan to engage with a talent.
See, I do something that's very selfish. I love, even more than boxing, politics. So I love to talk to these Ukrainians about the politics and I really have learned they are very, very, first of all, they're reluctant to talk. A lot of Ukrainians, particularly Ukrainians in the East, are really Russians, and their heart is with Russia. Ukrainians who come from Kiev, like Usyk does, are really Ukrainian nationals. They lost a lot of that stuff during the Soviet Union, but Lomachenko feels one way about the situation. Usyk feels another way. Bout, who sort of speaks all the languages and is very, very smart and educated, has a different pitch. But to listen to them talk about politics, I would learn more about the Russian, Ukrainian, what's happening, than I do from New York Times or Wall Street Journal. They really educated me.
Well, Eddie, Bob, thanks for joining me in this one. We'll see you both Saturday night in the ring. Maurice Hooker, Jose Ramirez, unified 140-pound champion.
I'm not going to be in the ring till after the fight, so I can congratulate my fight.
Yo, man, that's that, man. Let me see if anyone's around. If you want to jump in, Let's get your opinions. I thought they would actually break down the fight, but like, you know, here's what you get. Let's see what I got here. It was a good conversation, though. Eddie, why you treat me this way, Eddie? Eddie. Ian White, Joshua, what's poppin'? Let me see if anyone's up. No, those are Americans. Step up. Who is up? Americans always. We're in link, though, to jump in to give you a little breakdown before I bounce out. You're welcome. All six of you. All six of you. Let me see if YG. That in the main. There you go. Unravel's there. He's looking to jump in, I think so.
Yo, what's up?
What's up, PMC, man? What's up, man? Doing the breakdown on this this Hooker versus Ramirez, right? Jose Ramirez versus Hooker, man. What do you think, man? What do you think's gonna happen, bro?
There's some controversy?
No, man. I'm just saying, who you picking, bro?
Yeah, I'm rooting for Maurice Hooker, but what I've seen of Hooker, might fade late, man. If it goes late, man, Ramirez might win.
Man, I see him. When I look at Hooker, yeah, I pick Hooker initially, but bro, I don't like the way his chin's out in the cold.
Yeah, yeah.
out in the cold, bro. And see, you think he's more experienced. He's slowing down, but Ramirez is more. He's more savvy already, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I'm not about picking guys to lose, bro. I ain't no color thing, man. I'm just saying.
Right.
I think, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Ramirez is gonna do it. If Ramirez can cut down the ring and find him, I think Hooker doesn't know how to fight inside because he just wants to keep it long and moving around, but his chin's up in the air, man.
Yeah, I was surprised old boy beat
beat Flanagan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Flanagan's too slow. I think he's too slow. But Marie, he's got Freddie Roaches in his corner. He moves his head a lot, man. He's very, man. I don't like it, man. I picked initially Hooker thingy. I know how Hooker could win, but it's too much. Like you ain't gonna get away with just keep boxing like that, bro. You're gonna have to declare war against this. You're gonna have to put war in this guy, bro. I don't know Maurice is about that, bro. I don't think it's about that life. He's got them kind of wide eyes and that chin up in the air. I think he's gonna get popped, bro. That's what I think. I've convinced myself now. I'm gonna pick Ramirez.
Hold on.
Yeah, what you saying?
I'm trying
to watch the clips. I don't watch the clips.
I was trying to do this Skype thing.
Trying to do the Skype thing? Oh, the email?
Yeah, I was about to send it to you.
Yeah. Put it in the chat, man. Put in the chat. I'll do straight away. You know, like next week we done, bro. We out here. I already tested out the thing. Yeah, let's see if you got it. Oh, there you go. Oh, you done your account already then?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, man. We'll add you to the group now. Yeah, because when we change over, it ain't no time thing, man. Because you know, when we change over, they're just gonna wipe it out, man. I mean, I wish they wouldn't, but that's what they're doing. You know what I'm
Yeah. I wonder how you're gonna do a hangout on the Skype though.
Oh no, it's easy. I've got some equipment, so like it'll be a picture on the screen, and we can just talk on Skype normally. You know what I'm saying? There you are.
See if that should work. Let me know if it don't.
Yeah, I just added you right now.
Oh yeah, it worked. Okay. Yeah.
I just see group.
Alright, cool beans. Yeah, but who else is on the card, man?
It's got. But we got Tank Davis. I ain't do. We will do a prediction on Tank Davis as well.
Who's fighting tonight though?
By tonight.
Everybody's tomorrow or what?
Yeah,
ain't nobody fighting tonight, man.
Don't fight tonight.
No. But I'm looking forward to Tank, man. So I'm gonna have to bootleg, man. You know who's busy? That Tevin Farmer guy is always busy. He always fighting somebody. It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tevin Farmer, he alright. Let me see. Just go into the. Yeah, Tevin Farmer. I don't really rate Tevin Farmer. You rate Tevin Farmer?
He okay. Like you say, he alright. You know, he winning, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess I'm a bit biased.
I mean, he's active, so he's doing what he got to do for himself. So he's active.
Yeah, you're right.
Trying to make some money. So.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm hating because there you go. I do too.
What? Because he cross-eyed or something?
Yeah, it's a group. Yeah, like everyone's in the group, man. I got like Zone in there. Like when we're off, I just call that shit and that's it. You're good to go. Hopefully you'll be online. My thing's always online anyway, so you know what I'm saying. Yeah, like you're right. Yeah, maybe I'm hating. Maybe I'm hating for no reason. You know.
Yeah, but what? I mean, why? Like, you know.
Nah, maybe because I like Tank. Maybe I'm full favor. I favor Tank, and when I look at
him, okay, so it's like that.
Yeah. But when I look at him, I don't really see anything special. And another thing as well, I don't like trash talking. He was out here talking about Tank before he was a world champion. So I kind of look at him like whatever. What you doing? Like who? I don't even know who he won his belt off. Who he been fighting? Like who's he? He's fighting scrubs, man.
Yeah, I don't know who's fighting.
He been fighting pure scrubs, bro. Pure scrubs, like you know what I'm saying. Like Tank ain't doing nothing either, but at least Tank come to England at least. Like you know what I'm saying. So you know. All right, let me just look at the resume. Let me look at what's going on there. Let me look at some fights. So we got a big fight card. Like we have to do a split screen thing on this one, bro. Because you know what I mean. Like depending on the main event, like Tank's main event is not bigger than Maurice Hooke because it's a unification mount.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Baltimore, Maryland. So he fighting at home as well, Tank. All right, so Tank Davis is fighting Ricardo Nunes. I ain't never heard of this Ricardo Nunes, but he's a knockout artist. He's got one loss. You got Uris Gamboa versus Roman Rocky Martinez. See, that's a good fight, right? Jazzy Corrales is fighting as well. You know,
Oh
Jazzy?
yeah.
Yeah, 140.
Was excited about that.
Yeah, he's on that card. See. The other guys I don't really know, but all right, let's go to the 7th. Okay, Maurice Hooke, obviously versus Jose Ramirez with WBC Junior Welterweight Unification. And Tevin Farmer, he put his IBF lightweight, junior lightweight, so super feather on the line. Who's going against this? I don't know this guy he's fighting. And the rest of the guys on the card, who else on this card? Austin Williams, you know who that is?
I'll pull it up now.
Yeah, Austin Williams. I never heard of these guys, man. I never heard of them. Darius. I never heard of these guys. I've never heard of these guys at all, bro. But where's the fight? Where's that fight? Where's that fight happening? Oh, they're fighting in Texas. Oh, thing's gonna get smashed, bro. Why? Yo, man.
Where's Tank at, man?
They're fighting in Texas, bro.
Wait.
Huh?
What weight Javante at?
Oh, super feather. 130. Yo,
I
man.
didn't see him.
Yo, huh?
Oh, yeah, he right there. Okay, I missed.
Yo, Maurice, why are you going to Texas, bro? You must be out of your friggin' mind. How you gonna beat Ramirez in Texas in front of these people?
Yo, they got Uriokas Gamboa fighting though.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a good card. That's what I'm saying. Like, but that's not the card. That's the thingy card, bro. That's the Showtime.
He got that Ronald Gavril who fought David Benavidez, man.
Oh, you know him? Oh, see, I don't know that dude. I don't know that.
You didn't see that David Benavidez fight when he fought that dude?
Yeah. But David Benavidez, I don't wait unless he fights other champions. I know he's beating this dude. Did you see this Maurice Hooke? Yeah. Where you from, like? Where you from? Where is he from? Shit, you don't say he's from USA. You don't say where he's from. Shit, where you from, bro? What kind of rubbish is that? They should have his birth shit. How you going? Oh, he's from that. Oh, he's from Dallas. He's resident. Okay. He's born in there.
Oh, so it's the homecoming in.
Where's Fingy from? Oh, he's from Cali. Man. Oh, this is a home time fight for Fingy for
Yeah, for Maurice
Hooke ain't trying to lose this then. Yeah, he's the home time boy, but there's a lot of Latino guys in Texas, man. You thinking the brothers are gonna come out to support Maurice?
Hell yeah, why not?
He's with Errol Spence and that, isn't it?
Think so. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he changed with Errol Spence. I think he changed with the Chargers, man.
So what is this on the Zone? It's gonna be on the Zone.
Yeah, so the Zone. Yeah. Eddie Hearn was saying him and Bob Arum they team up now. They all pally now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They all pally now. Eddie Hearn right now. Eddie Hearn is a hunted man, like he out here, bro. What's Spencer Phillips saying?
Then you got Joey DeWeco. He fighting somebody, man. And the rest of these guys I never even heard of.
Well, hey, that's your country. You're from that country. You ain't heard of them. I damn sure ain't holding them. I ain't gonna watch them either. I'm not really interested to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Really, it's you know, I'm looking for competitive bouts. I don't know what's in the chat. No, the chat. A couple of people there watching.
I think I seen this Vicente guy though.
It's not like. What do you think? So let's go back to this Ramirez fight, right? And how you think? I reckon Hooker's gonna get knocked down a couple of times though. He's strong though. he's strong. He's fighting the whole, so he gonna be spirits. But Maurice, see this guy Ramirez, yeah. I see his fight. He's violent, bro. He's violent. He moves his head as well. But I think it's all about Ramirez. Does Ramirez gets tired? Can Hooker keep him in the back foot and keep peppering and keep pop? What's it called again? Keep popping, popping
But
until.
you know what? I'm thinking, man, he might beat Jose Ramirez though, man. Ramirez ain't looking all that hot in his fights, man.
Well, you see him against Myanmar?
Yeah, I seen him, man. But I'm just saying, you know.
No, he give Myanmar's I bust off his eye, bro. Swell up Myanmar. He was doing a Myanmar. I thought Myanmar was with it, but see the thing is, he's so aggressive. But that was years ago though. He's taking a lot of punches since though. I don't know. It might wear and tear. Like he's gonna take a mammoth effort to get to the hooker. The hooker's got good legs and he uses that stick very well, man. So
Yeah, he just gotta keep his stamina up.
yeah. It's the question: can Maurice get to him? Can Jose Ramirez get to him? Can Hooker keep up his stamina and keep him away? Because he doesn't like to fight inside, man. But the thing is, he's got his chin up in the air, bro. I don't like the way. I was looking at the way he fights, like, yo, dude, the way you fight. If you ever stop on a dime, my man will take your chin clear home with you, bro.
Mm-hmm.
He's an underestimated champion, bro. No one ever thought he would come to England and win them belts, bro. No one. Like when he came in, everyone was laughing at him. They thought, yo, Freddy's gonna pick up another belt. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the winner out of this is gonna fight Josh Taylor, hopefully. So,
Yeah, but I thought he was supposed to be fighting Reeves. I mean, Regas program.
Yeah, after that, the winner go. Hopefully, they can try and get that, bro. And then, what do you think? What do you think gonna happen with Tank? Tank going. Everyone's saying Tank gonna knock the kid out.
It's Tank's fight to lose, man. Don't nobody know the other guy.
Yeah, that is, man. When dudes come to fight, yeah, you know what I mean. But you know the thing is, it's boxing, bro. Tank ain't focus on his game. He's gonna get his ass clipped. He's gonna get his ass handed to him, as we know, man. So I was listening to your video about Eddie Hearn and stuff like that, man. So your position on Eddie Hearn is like he ain't, you know what I mean? He let the thing go ahead. He let that guy go ahead. So you Americans are not giving him no leeway, no tool, no time to do that. You just think Eddie Hearn's a con man, isn't it?
I think you already know the answer to that, buddy. So only reason I knew about his reputation is coming from y'all. Shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't think that was right, man. But anyway, it's all gonna come out in the end, man. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, they're gonna find out the truth, man. The truth gonna come out, man. The truth gonna come out because it has been coming out. You know what I'm saying? The truth has been coming out. So
yeah,
you know, but yeah, man. I had spoken with my moms about that. You know, I was like, man, this dude, you know, was cheating and all this other stuff. And she looked at a picture of Dillian White, and then she was like, that guy looks like a scumbag, you know. Dillian looks like a scumbag. He looks like a guy that would, you know, steal from his mother and stuff like that. You know, he just looks like a thug. So he looks like a thug, and that's what he acted like, man. Did you see his comment?
What did he say?
Man, that was gangster, bro.
What is that?
In the tweet.
Oh, yeah, I saw, what you talking about when he said that people are wrong, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. That's how he talks, man.
He said, and I won fair and square. Yeah, but that's scumbag talk, you know.
Yeah, well, he getting a lot.
It's not the time to act hood, you know. It's time to act like you got some sense. But obviously, he ain't got none. So.
He think he's right, innit?
I guess so. With a statement like that, hell yeah.
Yeah. What you put, right? So I'll read it out, yeah? I'm so disappointed with the rubbish, yeah, that has been said there about me over the last few days. I have a lawyer dealing with it, and I have been told that I can't talk about it for good legal reasons. I was cleared to fight. I won the fight fair and square. Thanks for the thanks for the support. That's what he's saying. Dillian White, the body snatcher.
Or the Wolfman, wherever he be going by, because he be howling and all kind of shit. The man's confused. So, yeah, man. See, that just goes to show that he's kind of dense. You know what I'm saying?
We got people reply to what's trying to say. It was clear to the fight, yes. Oh, okay. It was clear to the fight. So it's all good, yeah. Statement don't help your case. Ha! People getting in on him, bro.
Right.
Replying on that, yeah. It was clear to the fight. So it's all good, yeah. Statement doesn't help your case, exceptionally, yeah. Especially not when people who clear you for to fight or have a broken and a corrupt system. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Right. See, the thing is that he should have notified Revis, man. You know what I'm saying? It would been. I think the sting wouldn't have been so bad if he had like they both agreed to fight any damn way. You know?
Yeah.
Because we seen that happen before with Povetkin. You know what I'm saying? He popped hot, but Duopois still agreed to fight him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know the sanction, but to see this, and then they never notified the sanction body. So he was on some slick stuff, man.
Yeah, well, you don't think. When we come out in the B sample, we ain't found nothing. What you gonna say then?
He's still a cheat.
How's that?
He should have told Revis that he popped hot, man. Everybody should have been notified. No, not everybody was notified. It was a cover up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's strike number 2. And then you got the gloves. That's strike number 3. 3 strikes you out. Come on now. Strike 1, he already tested positive.
Some guys getting in on him, you know. You got hit, yeah, with DBOs. That's an old steroid on the market, yeah. You wasn't even trying to hide it after all the bitching
Yeah,
you and the man did, yeah.
The steroids. The steroids he was taking is older than all the belts. Shit. Except for the WBA shit.
Bro, this guy's getting in, bro. It's good to you, good on you, Dylan. Yeah, until proven guilty, mate.
Make everybody
why would you want to do? Yeah, this Emma guy. I know this Emma. I actually know her. Yeah, and that's when you know. Yeah, what's ahead of you? Yeah, head up. Ignore the haters.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's where the delusion falls in. You know, nobody's getting the big point is that the dude tested positive for a banned substance. All right.
People saying keep your head up and stuff like that.
They never gave Rivas the opportunity to say yes or no.
They're blaming Deontay Wilder and Al Heyman because what if Deontay what if Deontay phoned it obviously got them to make up this bullshit, yeah, just when you blaming the people blaming Finney, you know. Al Heyman could have done it. Could have done this. That's how he ducked Povetkin. These people are bad, you know. Blaming Al Heyman, blaming.
Yo, man, he's making his rounds in the UK, so I don't know what's going on. Have you seen that?
Yeah. He was over in Brixton. If I knew that, I would have went over there, you know. But like, you know, he got security over his brother.
Yeah, he's all over the media.
Yeah, listen to this, PMC.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they said, yeah. This is what was said, yeah. Like at the press conference before the press conference, the people had their microphones. So listen to this.
Thanks. I told you last couple of days ago. But that doesn't do between being a professional.
He said I got a statement ready for you.
Yeah.
Eddie's deep, you know.
I need to keep my hair for some reason. And then 1 in a million.
It's a stitch up.
Squat face.
Saying it's a stitch up, bro.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah, he said it's the even they said Eddie goes, I've got a statement ready for you.
I'm getting statement ready, don't worry.
And the thing is, this is coming. These are coming from journalists in England. You know what I'm saying? Like these are coming from journalists in England. They putting them out, bro. They putting them. They washing them out. You see, people in England, yeah. This is what I'm saying. People come in England's dirty, but hold up, it's people in England are out in them. Don't you understand that? Like you guys are American. Is it you think you Americans are out in them? It's people in England are putting them on front row, bro. England.
You talk about mainstream media or like the tabloids? What?
Yes. It's not Hauser, but said it from you. How many American fighters people covered that fight? I know there's people from the zone, but what I'm saying to you is that most of the journalists are covering it from England. So, and that recording there was obviously from a UK journalist, bro. So when you guys are going on about UK's dirty, but it's the UK media, digital media, they're the ones putting them on blast and going at it.
I didn't say nothing about the media.
No, but what I'm saying, people say England's dirty, but I'm saying is that the UK media is the one who's putting Eddie on blast and coming out all the information. They want to inform more than you guys because we don't.
That's what they're saying. UK is dirty and all this other stuff.
Yeah. But it's the people in the UK are the ones who are putting Eddie on blast about the stuff, bro. You see what I'm saying? So for Andy Reese to say that England, UK, but he should look into who's the one who outed the story, who's the one who you know what I'm saying? So people need to kind of ease up with that.
Hauser did it. Is Hauser a UK guy?
Nah, he's American, but I think people in the UK were scared to put their story out. That's why they said it to Hauser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They said it to him because he's credible and he'll get more waves. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how these things work. But as you can see, the recording that never came from Hauser. Like that came from someone else. So people already put the evidence together in the UK and sent it to Hauser. And Hauser has all the evidence. That's why Hauser reported on it. He made sure because they must have told him that in a couple of days they're gonna pop. We just want to break the news with you because it's gonna come out. Because usually, when the people do this stuff, we don't hear about it until a year later. That's why Dylan is saying it's a stitch up. Why they coming after me for? Other people do it. They don't say nothing about it. But why are they coming after me? Because this is the thing with Dylan. Because you keep blasting America and blast not really America. You keep blasting WBC. And then you keep blasting the WBC. What do you think was gonna happen, bro?
You think the WBC did something?
Yeah, they were. He be saying shit about the WBC, bro. And then he be talking shit about them as well. So they got the two of them out there.
Yeah, so somebody said how come every time Wilder has a big fight, somebody pops hot or something?
Yeah. But he be blaming Joshua for everything. He ain't got no proof. But now he's A-side. Man, the B sample gonna be coming. The B sample gonna be dropped sometime today, right? You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, remember it's 24 hours. Remember, I said 24 hours for the B sample to come back. So the B sample, yeah. Remember, the A sample was just the other day, and then just yesterday. The
A sample was on the 17th.
No, okay, yeah, but the B sample, they're checking the B sample. They're gonna come back in it. The B sample, they're gonna let us know. They're gonna let us know the results. They said 24 hours.
Yeah, but what? I mean, when you say 24 hours, when did they start testing?
No, I understand about that, but you're right. They knew it from time, but I'm talking about. I think reporting it to the media. I think they're talking about. So I don't know, man. Or maybe they got all the evidence already.
It's like when he requested it, it's supposed to be like 24 to 48 hours.
So when's the B sample supposed to come out then?
Shit.
Was that already?
It's supposed to be that came out for the fight.
Yeah.
They could have had
for
the fight.
No. That's not how it works. When they realize that you got the A sample, you have to come in the board and explain yourself, yeah. But after the fight, the B sample will come, bro. That's how they're doing it. It's wrong. That's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean they didn't have to have the fight though.
No, you're right, but that's what they've went ahead and done. They've chosen to ignore it. What he's got, but the B sample coming out. I think it should be coming out later on today, man. But you know what he's been taking already. That stuff, and I don't know what it is. But the B sample, because remember he's done two urine tests, yeah. the other test will be coming soon, innit? Straight back after, like so. Usually when the A test is there, all they do is test it again. They're gonna come up with the same results, man. So it's gonna show that he took it. He took something. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, what he's gonna say if it? So what if what if it does come back positive? What does he say?
he's obviously gonna do what Lucas Brown is gonna do. What Tyson Fury done. I ain't take shit.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
no man, he gotta contact those guys and have them write a statement. You know, like, look, Eddie, you know, I'm gonna get some pros to do this one.
Yeah, that wasn't a good statement by Dillian. That wasn't a good statement by he put out.
Yeah, it was inconsiderate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he should apologize to Reeves. That's it.
Yeah, you think Reeves gonna get some money from this?
Shit, I'll sue, man.
Mm.
I'll sue, and the WBC might take action.
You think the drug helped him out?
Man, I think they're gonna drag him through the coals, but they waiting for that sample. That's why they're like, yo, what's up? He's not the mandatory no more,
But WBC took about the rankings.
dude. He is not. We ain't gotta speculate on nothing. They never reported to him. The thing is, UCAD was supposed to report to VADA, and VADA was supposed to report to WBC. UCAD never reported to VADA. UCAD was working on the behest of the VADA.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. They ain't saying nothing. They didn't even talk to them and tell them what's popping in it.
Right, so they effed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They try to make it a secret and shit.
Reckon WBC, I reckon everyone wants to get paid, didn't it?
And then you see what they doing to Eric Molina?
Who?
Eric Molina.
What's happening to him?
Yo, man, they screwing his ass over some vitamin B.
When was this? Recently?
Yeah, man. Happened. So I guess he got suspended because he had the vitamins, which is vitamin B, something over the counter, which is legal just about everywhere in the world except for the UK, I guess, and some kind of athletic event. But yeah, I guess it was suspended after something like after the Anthony Joshua fight or something like that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try to call him and see what's popping, man. I'm sure he should be easy to find, boy. But let me tell you something, bro. Boxing has been through worse stuff than this, man. Boxing's gonna survive. People think boxing won't.
Yeah. So anyway, this is what happened, right? So I guess he got busted with something with the vitamin B over up in the UK, so he can't fight in the UK.
Oh, okay, I got you now.
Yeah, so he can't fight in the UK, and then they want to suspend him for another 2 years because he was sparring. I guess he must have sparred in the UK in 2018 during his suspension. So he had sparred once. So they want to ban him for another 2 years in the UK.
That don't mean nothing. You could ban him in the UK, but he can still fight in America.
Over some vitamin B, bro. Over some vitamin, man.
Yeah, so we trying to say they went hard on him about some vitamin, but now Dillian, you reckon they're giving a pass to Dillian? Is that what you saying?
Yeah, probably so. We'll see.
You reckon that's because of Eddie?
We have to wait, you know. And people tired of waiting, man. We going into 2000, and it takes 48. It takes a whole week and a half to test some piss.
Yeah,
it's 2020, bro.
You make the results of
you know what I'm saying? They can read your DNA code and shit now, and we can't read urine tests.
Mm-hmm. You smack on, bro. You bang on, bro, for real. You smack on, you for real, bro. So you saying they go with the results? They go with the results. They're just feeding us little bits, right? And that's what you saying.
Yeah, that shit probably gonna end up missing shit.
Yeah, I got Hauser here right now. Where Hauser at? Hauser, he don't even come into because if he did, I'll call it. But Eddie called him and said, what the heck are you doing? Why are you putting this out for? You need to stop doing that. Like Hauser blast Eddie. He said, listen, it's the freedom of the press, man. And Eddie goes, I don't care if he's a lawyer. Eddie was coming from. Eddie,
really? What was this?
This thing. You should interview, man.
Yeah, you gotta play some of that.
All right. Who was that? What interview was it? Was it? Yeah, it was Was it IFL? No, it was IFL. It was Okay, 1 minute. Let me get that interview. That interview was hard, man.
Yeah,
So he went.
I didn't feel like listening to all the lies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So he went looking for Hauser, man. He went looking for Hauser. He caught up with him. So it was irresponsible putting out information.
Because Hauser broke it. He had the article out like early, man. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Because he caused Dillian White a whole heap of stress, and Dillian's looking to sue. Sue what, man? Bro, if you get over this year, don't look to sue no one. Just look to keep your head down. Keep your head down and keep quiet. Okay. Dillian speaks on Dillian White fails as a judge. I think this is the one. Check this right. This is the one.
All right.
Eddie, I think this is the one. Eddie's deep, you know. Eddie's deep. This guy's arrogant, you know. The arrogance is bad, bro. You know what I mean? It's there. I'm kidding. Bad people.
Yeah, he's something else, man. It's poison.
Go switch gears and talk about your man Dylan White. You see the post that Deontay Wilder had?
Yeah, I did. All these guys. There's a lot of people with agendas, right? And you know, you've seen me answer quite a few questions. There's a lot that I can say and a lot that I can't say legally on this situation. What I can say is both guys were tested by VADA and by UK in the build-up to this fight. Both guys were cleared by both bodies to take part in this fight and by the commission. Okay, there was a hearing prior to the fight where Dillian White was asked to provide information. That hearing took place with an independent panel through the testing agency, and he was cleared to take part in the fight. That's, as far as I'm concerned, as a promoter, that's it. He was cleared by the British Boxing Board of Control. He was cleared to fight by the governing body. That's it. Now, there is some issues to resolve, and a lot of stuff that's been reported, half of it is true, half of it is false. There'll be a statement tomorrow from Dillian White, but at the moment, all you guys are just hearing one side of the story. But it's very important for you to know that there was a hearing that took place that cleared him to fight. A lot of people just think it was brushed under the carpet, and it was just no one knew about it. Just keep it all quiet till later. It doesn't work like that, and it wouldn't be right to work like that. So this was, you know, the information was assessed by these people, and it was cleared to fight.
What's your confidence level that he'll be clear whenever everything is said and done?
You know, I believe that any fighter that is knowingly cheated in a sport of boxing should never be allowed to fight again. And I do not believe that he's one of them. And I believe that from the information that's been provided and the fact that he was cleared to fight, I believe that he will be cleared on all levels. I don't know everything about this situation. What I do know is that this hearing took place and he was cleared and approved to fight. Once that happens, you know, I'm not a physician. I'm not a medic. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a testing agency. These people are there to do their job and make their decisions, and they made a decision.
People are coming at you and stuff. How we even say they're comparing this situation to the whole Joshua and Big Baby Miller, and basically
different. I mean, I know it's completely different. I mean, one.
Here's the platform for you to set them people straight.
I have to set them people straight. They're going to think what they want to think. But what I'll say to that is one guy tested for 3 positive substances with extensive levels in his system of HGH. I mean, like just on another level. You've got another guy who had to provide information. This guy was VADA tested, Dillian White, for his whole camp. Passed all of them. Right? So he was asked to provide the information. The information was assessed. He was cleared. So if you have an issue with that, I suggest you speak to the agency, the governing body, and all these people. I'm a promoter. I don't tell people who passes drug tests or who's cleared to fight or who's licensed. That's not my job. That's the job of these people known as the governing body who follow a procedure. They've got rules, and the rules were followed. And now there's a confidential situation going on where Dillian White will be taking action against several media outlets who have reported inaccuracies.
You know the names out of what outlets? Because
not you, don't worry. You're safe. No, but he's got. You can't let an outlet or a platform. No, sources. That's what they call it. Have defamatory comments. Dillian White now, his career is not in a good way. He could come out, you could come out and say, this has been investigated in full. He is cleared of all situations, charges, blah, blah, blah. And people would still, what do you think ever happened? You see it every time he tweets. Every time I've been tweeting today. Yeah, well, you let that fight happen. I'm like, no, I did not let the fight happen. There was a hearing. He was cleared. He was approved to fight by these people, So Yeah, look, you know, the internet's a crazy place, but all I can tell you, procedure was followed.
There's one where there's one, yeah. You still there, PMC?
Yeah.
There's one, yeah. There's one interview where he mentioned Hauser, bro. He mentioned Hauser, bro. That's the one, yeah. I'm trying to find that one.
Yeah, I think I heard that one.
One where he mentioned Hauser, like legit. Yeah, I had a phone call with Hauser. I was like, "What you been putting in?" He said, "Yo, this guy's got balls, man. What you calling the reporter for? That's our order. What you trying to do? Like change the reporter's mind or something like that?" This guy's got balls of stills. He's very
It's
arrogant.
out now. It's out of his control, man.
Yeah, he's very arrogant, man. Let me
Out
see.
of control. It don't really matter. It's the fact that they didn't notify Rivas. They didn't notify everybody that was supposed to be notified.
Yeah, I think it's this one.
So they broke protocol.
Time you
It
look.
don't matter. So they can come up with whatever they want to come up with, and then the gloves.
But you can't slag me off away from
This one now.
interviewing me if I give you time. No, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm not. But I'm saying I always give you time. I'll always answer your questions. I'll never tell you can't have an interview. But,
you're right. People continue to kind of make it seem like you're the main person
yes,
responsible.
that's genuinely what happens. But yeah. But you know, that's why it's important to have my say as well. Yeah. And now I'm going to go on the front foot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell people, but I have nothing to hide. Right. Do you know what I mean? So the process was followed. If you don't like the process, I'm really sorry. It's not my process. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. You know, it's just important to make sure that people know that process had a hearing. Yeah. You know, it had an incident dealt with. There was nothing brushed under the carpet. It wasn't that, oh, you know, you let this fight go on. I have a contract with fighters for a fight to take place where fighters are cleared to take part in a contest. Right. I can't cancel a fight in that situation when you have two cleared fighters cleared to take part in a contest. Yeah. So again, if you don't like the protocol and that schedule that took place, it's not my schedule. I don't put the laws in place. It was dealt with in a very short space of time with evidence and everything, and he was cleared to fight. So I keep asking the question to people. Yeah. People that that one journalist who you sort of not attack you, but I said, why was he cleared to fight? And one guy just said, well, maybe he produced evidence to satisfy the board. I went, oh, fucking hallelujah. I said, that's obviously what happened. I don't know what happened at the hearing. All I got was a call to say that he was cleared to box. Right. So evidence that was presented was obviously enough to satisfy a panel. Yeah. Right. What happens from here? Dillian White's got a very tough job because everybody presumes he's guilty, right? So he's now got to prove to everybody that he's not. And that's why you won't hear him say as much as he'd like to say, because he's been told by his legal team, not my legal team, by his legal team, this is so important, you've got to get this right. We've got to give evidence, we've got to get your name completely cleared everywhere for people to say.
Because there's like defamation.
There's a lot of that. I mean, and people, I saw another a website that, we've had a legal letter from Dillian White's team. I mean, it's obvious he's guilty. It's like, no, it might have been obvious that you said something that was incorrect. Like the Boxing Scene article that went out by Thomas Hauser was full of inaccuracies. A lot of it was correct, but there was a lot of inaccuracies. And I spoke to him last night, Boxing Scene. I said, that a lot of what you said was incorrect. No, well, Thomas.
Look at that, bro. How you speak to? So you said he spoke to Boxing Scene. Why are you talking to Boxing Scene? You know what I mean?
He's trying to scare people, man.
Yeah, like you. Why are you talking to Boxing Scene? Why are you?
Yeah, but ain't nobody scared of Dillian White and them.
Yeah, but why are you trying to? He trying to intimidate them. Listen, hear what he said, Pierce. Let me play this back, right? Why? That's the first one. I was like, why are you calling them to see what go on in like? Leave them. Nah, man. That's dredging. Because usually, what normally happens? You let like your lawyers and them go talk to them. You know what I'm saying? Why are you going to talk to them yourself? Like, let me play this thing. He's trying to intimidate them, bro.
Right.
I saw another a website that, we've had a legal letter from Dillian White's team. I mean, it's obvious he's guilty. It's like, no, it might have been obvious that you said something that was incorrect. Like the Boxing Scene article that went out by Thomas Hauser was full of inaccuracies. A lot of it was correct, but there was a lot of inaccuracies. And I spoke to him last night, Boxing Scene. I said, that a lot of what you said was incorrect.
See, who are you talking to? He thinks he's slick with his words. What was he saying? He said I spoke to them. I spoke to him, and then he said I spoke to them. You see what I'm saying? Because he didn't want to say like he talked to Hauser. This guy's dread, you know. This guy's dread. Let me play this shit.
Correct. Well, Thomas is a lawyer. I said, yeah, but how do you think it's the right to go out and just publish? Well, you had a right to apply. What, of a confidential case where the guy's not even allowed to comment? It's not that he's not allowed to comment by his lawyers. The case with UCAD is confidential. He can't say anything because it will jeopardise his position. He's fuming. He's phoning, and like it's a problem. He's got a problem that he's got to go and deal with now. Before the fight, it was a disaster. But understand that a process was followed. Again, if you don't like that process, it's not my process.
Listen to this PMC, man. This guy's bad. Let me show you something, right? This is him, yeah, talking, yeah, about like drug testing, how to avoid it, like in America or whatever. Like, listen to this thing. All right, you still there, PMC?
Yeah.
All right, listen to this. All right, I'm playing it right now, yeah.
Another problem with sometimes with bodies like USADA is that it's who they report the findings to. So you could have a testing agency that you're using who only give you the results, right? So say that I employ USADA, I'm going to go Matchroom employ USADA or UCAD, right? And then it's me contracting with them. So when a fighter fails a test, who gets told? Me. So what I'm saying is, how do we know in America, and I've heard a lot of stories, that there aren't people that have failed drug tests that it's never got out? Another problem with
see there. You see, what he's saying is that when he hires these drug testing people to do drug testing as the promoter, the first person they contact is him, and some of the information sometimes never gets out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He can control the narrative. That's why.
Right. That's what he said. You can. That's the first agency that came out of his mouth.
Yeah. He control. Yeah, he paid them. He paid UCAD to check the justice, and then UCAD told him that your guy just is dirty.
Yeah, but you know what? They said Vada paid UCAD, and I'm thinking UCAD is probably used to calling him. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, well, boy, they found Tyson Fury. That you paid them, and they find your guy's dirty, and you let the guy go ahead and have a fight. And Fury did the same thing. Fury got found dirty, and he went ahead and had another fight with someone. No one's making a big thing about Fury. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Dillian's getting Dillian. That's why Dillian said it's a fix-up. There's other people done worse than him. But see, Dillian's in a position where he's trying to fight back, but it's not the right way to do things. Because he's trying to blame other people. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is you took something that wasn't on the ban list, Dillian. So you can't talk. And then you know what I'm saying? And you be talking recklessly as well. See, to Tyson Fury, I don't think he's been talking, but he actually, he said they're all dirty. But people don't go. It's funny. People ain't going off for Tyson Fury as much as they're getting off Dillian, but long man. It's all long, man. It's all long.
Yeah.
It's all long. But you know what I'm saying? Oh shit! They got that Maxine guy in it. They're showing his They're saying Maxine. They're saying you support his family. That's deep, bro. And his little baby girl. That's deep, man. Oh, that's sad, man.
What happened?
No, like the guy who died in it, like Bo saying, yeah, the donations in it. They're looking for donations to help out the family in it. But remember, he was the breadwinner for the family. You know, Russian women, yeah. Most of them, some of them women don't work. The man brings the money in it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Sad, man. All right, let me see what people say in the chat here. They don't say Eddie's deep, bro. Eddie's a deep. Okay, get that smoke. Yeah, it was the barbershop conversation interview. Okay, what was it? No, that wasn't. That wasn't barbershop. That was from. Oh, maybe he was there. Okay, barbershop got interview Eddie Hearn. Let me go find that still. Barbershop conversation. Let me go find it. We gonna see. He got interview Eddie Hearn. He might have stretched Eddie Hearn out. His cheating ways, bro. Barbershop might have found him with that Fred. Barbershop conversation.
Yeah, it'll be easier to just go and say, we made a mistake in that report.
Yeah.
But see, it's pride.
Yeah, it's pride. A lot of people's pride. Eddie's just acting like, say, yo, they did the right thing. Not, bro. People just looking at him sideways. You didn't, man. Like, oh, but that's the rules, innit? It goes, Eddie, like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like you ain't got no common sense or something like that. What
Right, ain't nobody heard no rules like that.
yeah, like why are you letting your guy fight and then later on after the fight, you know he took something. You know, you can't let the fight happen.
And I actually watched somebody.
And because they didn't. Anyway, okay, where's Eddie Hearn? Okay, yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. So the interview's longer. Okay, the interview's longer. Fred was there. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I got it. There was another reporter there as well. That's why I got it from her. I didn't get it from Barbershop though. But I see Fred there. Though. Okay, still bitter. What's Eddie Hearn bitter about? Let me see this. Eddie Hearn still bitter. What he's bitter about? Yeah, Eddie Barbershop. Fred ain't having it. Them LDB. Fred ain't having it yet.
You've got the opportunity to ask it on.
Oh yeah,
And he's back online. You've got the opportunity to ask it and answer it again without asking me a question back. An independent national body. Why did they clear Dillian White to fight? That's it. You haven't got to say anything back to me. You just answer the question.
I told you, I don't know the answer to that. But that's why we lean on promoters, commissions, fight fans, news reporters to give us information.
But I'm not the agent. I can't tell you why he was cleared. I'm telling you he was cleared. That's it. So how is it my fault that an independent agency, a governing body, cleared him to fight? You can't say to a fighter, "Oh no, you're not fighting because I'm a promoter and I know all about levels and doping and physicians." I don't. That's for the experts. This was an expert panel that dealt with the evidence, not boxing scene stories. The evidence. The evidence was presented. It's effectively a court of law, right? So if a guy goes in and commits a crime and he goes into the court of law and he's found innocent, you don't go to the guy who, what happened? Ultimately, speak to the governing body, speak to these people. So what I'm saying to you is, a lot of this, the criticism towards me, and I understand some of the things you're saying. This wasn't an easy situation. In fact, this was a situation I've never dealt with before. It was a nightmare. But we followed the
What's Robbie Van Miller?
No, but this was different. This was a situation where, 36 hours before a fight, you get this information. You have to follow a process. The process was followed, and he was cleared to fight.
Well, what
do I agree with that? Do I agree with that process? I don't know. What I'm saying
you have to have an opinion on the process.
I'm happy with how the process was dealt with in terms of he was given his chance to present the evidence through VADA mainly, okay, which he was extensively tested for the whole duration, and I'm very sure that the truth will come out in full. I don't know what that end result will look like, but what I can tell you is protocol was followed.
Okay.
Right? Like to the dot. It wasn't like we created this panel, right? And we went in and we created this matchroom panel.
Well, that's the narrative right now. The narrative is like,
but have a brain.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is a proper. Do your research about you.
So what's the timeline on the findings?
Again, that right now is Dillian White, his legal team to deal with. When these findings come out, we'll see what happens. All I'm saying is right now, let it come out, because everybody just, like, the stick he's getting already, and maybe it's deserved, who knows? But right now, no one's even prepared to wait to find out the truth. Well, I don't know what the truth is.
Well, look at the semantics of it. Keith Thurman, Manny Pacquiao fought. They don't have a legal team right now to defend themselves. So what I'm saying, the point I'm making is, if Dillian White has a legal team currently to defend himself, there's something in the air looming.
No, he employed a legal team. I mean, is that the most ridiculous question? Yeah, that's the worst question I've ever had.
No, you're always going to say that. No. What I'm saying is,
don't ask me.
Typically, fighters don't have a legal team.
Obviously, we have to present information to a panel and deal with a character assassination. Of course, you have a legal team. By the way, do you think Manny Pacquiao doesn't have a lawyer?
So
do you think Keith Thurman doesn't have a lawyer?
They're not defending a steroid case.
No, because they don't do VADA testing. Because they don't do VADA testing.
But
Keep on quiet. Go on, next one.
All right.
Think about the next one. What?
Eddie,
I know, I do it every time. Listen, he spends his whole life giving me stick, this guy. Every time I interview him, I spank him every day. I pull his trousers down and I say, you naughty boy, you naughty boy. And he still comes back.
Why would you want to kill another man? Why would you want to kill my trousers?
You've got a nice butt. You've got a nice Tommy Crook. You're on Instagram.
I watch everything.
You saw my butt. Do you like my butt? Do you like my butt? I've got another question for you. Do you like my butt?
I'm very alpha.
Eddie's deep, bro. Man, start. See, this is what Eddie does, you know. Oh shit, yo, Eddie just playing games with him, bro. Someone miscalled me. Eddie playing games, man. Eddie playing games like he's trying to clown the people. All right,
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn tried to clown, man. Barbershop.
Yeah, he did.
Like my barber. That's what he does, you know. He's deep.
I have a Brian.
He asks stupid questions, man, about you. You don't need to leave with him.
No, right here, boxing scene. It's right here, boxing scene. He said the adjunction process often begins with the testing of the fighter's B sample, which can generally be done within 24 to 48 hours, but it often drags on for more than a year.
Oh shit! Really? Oh man.
Yeah, right here. That's what I'm saying. Ain't nobody reading. That's what I was like. Ain't nobody reading.
Oh man, that's probably why he ain't coming out yet. Shit.
Yeah, the National Anti-Doping Panel, an independent entity, is responsible for the final adjudication of the PED disputes. I apologize. Disputes, man. I apologize.
Well, Dylan can't fight. Dylan can't fight in a year, so he won't be able to fight until this is done. So
that's what I'm saying. He done.
But he needs to. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that even if it drags out, no one's gonna be fucking with Dylan like that. You know what I'm trying to say? So he needs to get it resolved really quickly as well to see what's going on, because the OBC want to find out as well.
But but you just heard what I read under UCAD. This is under UCAD.
Yeah, I know, but because of the situation,
everybody talk about the 24 hours, 48 hours, and stuff like that. So they say it often begins within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I got you.
But it often drags on for more than a year. So this whole process can be a year process. So he should. The WBC gonna strip him, man.
Yeah,
you know they're gonna take away his ranking.
Yeah, let me go check. Let me go WBC right now, man. See what they're saying, man. See if they take away his ranking. They took it away already. WBC ranking, heavyweights, man. Damn, man, it's a hot night tonight, UFC.
And then they were saying like, I guess it's speculation.
No one ranking.
That they might elevate. Ranking, yeah, but they saying they might elevate Wilder to the franchise champ, so he won't even have to face Dillian.
That's funny. That's funny. That's messed up though.
Hey, it's messed up what Dillian did.
Yeah,
Yo, man, it's their belt, man. They do what the hell they want with their belt.
Yeah, they can. I'm trying to find the ranking.
Keep playing the game.
Yeah, this is the WBC official website. Let me see what's going on there. Let me see what's going on. Where's the ranking?
Because now they making Sula mine look stupid.
He out here talking. Dylan out here talking that. Everyone's on him because he out here talking, and now everyone knows what you're on, innit?
Right, because they embarrassed him and they pressured him to make him the #1 mandatory and all this other shit. And calling them out for them with their ranking system. So they felt embarrassed, you know, they felt pressure.
Yeah.
They had to sanction that fight. And now that they Now they got backstabbed. What do you think they're gonna do?
Yeah. True. Okay, get the smoke. It's much better. Yeah. There's nothing. No one. There's no. There's another one with barbershop calling nervous Eddie Hearn. He get furious. He's getting frustrated. Yeah, he's getting furious. Yeah, he winds him up though. Yeah, but Fred gets underneath his skin, bro. Fred gets underneath his skin. Fred gets underneath his skin. Yeah, there was another one. It was like that was a. Let me see what. Fred gets underneath his skin for real, bro.
Yeah. But you can't be doing that, man. You can't be doing all that crap, baby.
Yeah, I know, man. The thing is, yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, the thing is, yeah, people talk the UK, this, that, the other, and the third, but you know what I mean? I ain't defending this shit. For me, I ain't defending that shit. Ain't no one gonna put this shit on my head.
Dude, man, they you know, a lot of those guys that are saying that crap, they either they got something wrong with them, or they just kids, you know.
Yeah. But you see the thing, what happened to you in the prayer, and I didn't understand that. I was like, yo, why you think? I think he didn't know who you were, man, because like that's like, nah, man, that's some word. You can't be the dude.
It wasn't. No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's his channel, but the thing it was Hamid, you know. I'm like, man,
I don't know why he came. I don't know where he came out of left field, man. I'll catch up with when I catch Hamid, man. Hamid gonna get that work, bro. Trust me. I'm gonna give him. What are you picking on PMC for? Nah,
he was tripping. I was like, man, what? You know.
We got some, Maurice Hooke. Great fight, yeah. Keep 100, the hell of a fight at 140. Obviously, you flew Maurice Hooke. How difficult was it to promote the fight?
I mean, firstly, it's difficult to make because obviously
let's skip that shit. Freddie gonna
Steve from Cardiff, possibly.
We'll talk about that drug shit. We'll talk about this shit.
Shoes and all that.
Eddie's deep enough.
From a national commissions in America. Yeah, and I don't do random testing, mate. I do shows here.
Here we go.
There's Vada, there's Vada.
He put Eddie under some serious.
We haven't got to that part.
Eddie looks stressed already, bro.
He governing body.
He looks stressed already.
Answer the question. What are you doing?
Oh my, Fred, he's.
Where?
Biggest officials. So my worry, you know, we'll talk. I'm on to dealing one. Is look at your. That's not a great scenario, but look at yourselves. Look at your own testing policy. Right, you had guys, you know, and horribly so that have been injured.
He's talking about America now.
Yo, I can't hear. No, the volume low.
No, I ain't, man. You moving around. That's
I'm right here, man.
Like even past, was there testing in process for those? You can't hear that?
Nope. Hold on. My stuff is on max, man.
You heard the other one before, though,
Yeah, but your volume went low, man.
No, it ain't. You're moving around. I hear you eating and stuff and doing shit. Don't try it, please. You're on your phone as well. You on your phone, innit?
What? I ain't on my phone.
You should be able to hear this.
That shit was low. That shit was low, man. Man, that's you on your phone. You dipping out.
I ain't got no phone.
What?
Yeah, exactly. You're moving around. I hear you moving around. Get out of here, please. You're moving around out there. You're moving around, bro. Yeah.
Man, I'm right here, bro.
We'll get to Dylan White in a second, but as it relates to Dylan White,
you hear that?
Yeah.
Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury, the list goes on in terms of performance-enhancing drugs and actually winning fights that argue maybe you shouldn't have won. Don't take it fair to have some concerns as an American fan and for Team Ruiz?
Not really, because Andy Ruiz got the opportunity from nowhere to change his life and fight Anthony.
No, we know that already. I'm talking about in terms of the rematch being in Cardiff.
No, that's what I'm saying. You let me finish it. Okay. So Joshua came to Andy Ruiz's country, gave him a shot out of nothing, and lost the fight. Part of the deal was that if we lose, we do the rematch, on our terms.
See, I told you, do the rematch on our time.
Yo, EJ, man, you try to put it on me, man. Get this smoke. Just said it was you, man.
Oh, my bad. You're right. It's YG I'm thinking about. My bad. You're right. It's YG out on here. YG, because YG was arguing about it. My bad, PVC. You're right.
And our terms are, we want to do that in Cardiff. In terms of Nevada and UCAD and blah, 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 our testing is so much more extreme than testing in America. Firstly, the VADA situation is global. So when we do a big fight in America, there's VADA testing. $40,000 a fight. It's a lot of money. When we do a fight in the UK, there's VADA testing. So I don't see that as an issue at all. From a fairness and officials and all that, they'll be neutral. It's not a case of, we're going to have all British judges. That's a problem when you go to a commission in America. When you go to Las Vegas, as you know, you can't get a neutral panel. It's all Las Vegas officials. So my worry, I'm sure you'll come on to the one thing, is look at that's not a great scenario, but look at yourselves. Look at your own testing policy.
America.
Right, you had guys, and horribly so, that have been injured lately, even passed away. Was there testing in process for those fights? Ask yourself those questions. Were fighters?
Well, we know the answers to that because your undercard fighters don't subscribe. No, they can't afford it.
No.
Same thing with undercard
in Britain, they are. They're random tested by UK. In America, what are you doing to solve the problem of heads?
We're deflecting a little bit.
No, not because we haven't got that question yet. We haven't got that question. Answer the question. What are you doing in America about cheating going on in America? Unless VADA are employed to independently monitor fights, there is no testing program from any commission, any governing body for this country in boxing.
My job is to ask the question. My job is to
Exactly.
You know more about boxing in America than me. We haven't got to that part yet. I'm asking you the question. You can't answer it because you know there's no testing in the US.
Because that's not my job. My job is to ask, I don't know.
I'm asking you now. I'm asking you. Is there testing? There isn't.
Yeah, there is VADA.
No, there isn't. There is no testing from a commission or from a national
commission in America.
Yeah, and they don't do random testing. Mate, I do shows there, like most of those commissions. I know these fighters aren't being tested. Okay? VADA, there's so many great things about VADA, right? The great thing is, it's reported. Right? That's one of the great things about VADA. The downside of VADA is there's no sanction. They can't do anything. So they can expose the information. But who takes responsibility to make the decisions and the actions? The answer is no one. Because look at Jarrell Miller, right, as an example. No one will ban him. No one will. They can stop his look. They don't have to license him in a commission. But effectively, he will find a place to box.
But I'm glad you want to discipline Jarrell Big Baby.
I don't want to discipline. That incident is over, right? As far as I'm concerned.
But that's the example you're using.
I can't discipline him.
But the fact that you want to discipline,
I believe he should. If any fighter
makes us agreement about
if any fighter is confirmed and basically found guilty of intentionally using and doping on a substance, they should be banned from the sport.
Devolved intention. We know that.
You don't know anything about the case at all. You're following a case from Thomas Anderson. Let the truth come out. Let him have his say. At the moment, he's just presumed guilty, right? His case is his case. He will deal with his case. Nothing to do with me. I'll do the show, right? We get onto the show, and the show was, your next question is, about the show.
No, the facts are good.
Okay.
When did Eddie Hearn find out about the positive?
I can't talk to you about all this. Yeah, but do you want the truth? You know it's a confidential legal situation.
No, but
okay, all I'll tell you is I found out
before the fight.
Yes, I did. I found out, it wasn't long before the fight. I'll tell you as much as I can. And I know you think I'm trying to not that, but I can't. Yesterday, I gave loads of interviews, and I got told off because there will be a legal case going on and a confidential case where Dillian White effectively has to prove to all you people that
all boxing fans.
All people.
All boxing fans.
No, all people around the world. Because right now, as you've read an article, he's guilty, right? Let him have his.
Same with Jarrell Big Baby Miller.
Bit of a different scenario. In fact, a massive. No. Again, you're wrong. See, this is where you're wrong. You get your facts wrong every time. There wasn't two drugs. There wasn't two drugs. There wasn't two. No, there wasn't. You're getting it for a boxing scene. Let the guy have his process, right? Okay. So I found out about it. We were told that he would have to open a B sample or have a hearing. Okay, this was like a day before the fight. It's impossible to open a B sample, get that done, get that tested, etc. The only choice he had was to present all the information and the facts from mainly, and again, this will come on out in time, VADA testing that he paid for. He had from 12 weeks out to the fight, which was tested rigorously all the way up, which a lot of that information will be eventually shared, and this is pivotal to the case, was presented before the National Anti-Doping Panel, which is an independent panel basically assigned by UCAD to hear a case.
What's your responsibility in all this?
Absolutely. My responsibility is to follow the rules. I have a contract with both fighters that says you must be cleared by the Commission, the British Boxing Board of Control, right? And I've got to follow that contract, right? Now, he had that hearing, right? And
on July 17th.
18, whatever the date was. He had that hearing. Again, no, it was on the day of the fight.
The hearing was on the day of the fight?
On the morning of the fight. So by the way, and this is another thing where
even more incriminating.
Well, not really, because no, it's not, because that's the process. Because when it was heard, when we found out the information, that was the only option we were given. It wasn't me saying.
So that means you knew a couple of days prior. You said that's the only option.
About 36 hours, probably, because we had to have the hearing. That was what we were instructed to do.
Why wasn't WBC notified?
Because they had nothing to do with UCAD. One, they had nothing to do with UCAD. Two, they have their own testing policy with VADA.
Who's sanctioning the fight?
British Boxing Board of Control.
Not WBC?
Well, the WBC have their own. Yeah, but the British Boxing Board of Control and UCAD, which again, this is something you should look into. Their situation.
So multiple sanctioning bodies?
No, the commission, the commission, people commissioning the fight, the British Boxing Board. Okay. So they had between them and UCAD and the fighter, and don't shoot the messenger with this. It's a confidential situation, right? With their testing. Again, I'm not UCAD. I'm not the British Boxing Board of Control.
You have definitely no accountability though. Because the reason we're in a sensitive state right now.
Yeah, but let me tell you something, bro. When that case goes on, I cannot breach that confidentiality. Firstly, that's a rule. That's a fact. Number two, more importantly,
until these rules, a man.
No. But listen, I'm telling you, in a situation when there's a hearing, right, where a fighter has to be heard, if that fighter is cleared, the fight takes place. So I see your argument. Do you think I should have told Oscar Rivas? In my opinion, one
and the WBC.
No.
And fight.
But that's not up to me, the WBC. That's the commission dealing with the commission. This is where
you knew. Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you want your daughter showing up to a fight when you're? No, hear me out. No, we got. No, let's be pragmatic.
Yeah, but you're missing the point.
No,
he was cleared.
I'm creating a point.
No, you're creating my argument. Why was he cleared to fight?
That's something you.
Why was he? No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. How do you know? You don't know no facts. You're sitting there. It shouldn't be clear. You read an article on a boxing scene. That's your.
There is some truth to it. There has to be some truth because you're on.
Why did the governing body clear him? Answer the question. Answer the question. You're a clown.
No,
you're a clown.
No, you have.
Everyone's laughing at you. You're a clown. You don't know no stats.
This is your whole town.
No, mate. This is not my town. I'm from London.
I'm on your turf.
And you.
I'm on your turf. You're deflecting.
I'm not.
You are deflecting. You're deflecting.
Answer the question. Why did the governing body clear him to fight?
That's your job to tell us. You're the promoter.
It's the governing body's job and the commission to tell you that.
You know them. I don't know them. I have to get second-hand information from you.
Exactly. You just explained it really well.
You get the first-hand information.
Second-hand information.
You get the first-hand.
Like a second-hand car.
You get the first-hand.
Next question.
You're deflecting, that is?
So I'm not deflecting. You've got to get your facts right. You come
Tell
here.
us the facts.
The facts are, before the fight, he was asked to provide information at a hearing by a governing body. That hearing took place. All the facts were presented. He was cleared to fight. I am the promoter of the fight. I have a contract with the fighters that say, if a fighter is cleared to fight by the British Boxing Board of Control, that fight is on.
Okay.
Speak to the governing body. Okay. Speak to the commission. Do your job. You're supposed to be a journalist.
And right for you. Okay. Now let's summarize the whole thing. The commission knew. Everyone else involved knew at least 36 hours, according to you. At least 36 hours knew. So that means Oscar Rivas' life was not as important as the fight going on, as the event going on.
You're deflecting the situation.
No, I'm summarizing the facts.
He was cleared by the people in charge. Not me. I'm not in charge of a national doping agency.
But you knew he tested positive at least 36 hours.
No. I knew he had to go and present information to the National Doping Agency.
Okay, I'm not.
Understand what you're talking about, because you don't know what you're talking about. Ask yourself this: why was he cleared?
Okay, so let me ask you.
Answer the
So
question.
there was no PEDs involved.
I'm telling you, he was asked to present information.
Okay, so you're making the argument that there was no PEDs involved.
I'm telling you,
the argument is no PEDs.
He had a hearing.
PED.
He had a hearing. Why don't you answer the question? Why was he cleared to fight?
That's for you to tell me.
I don't know.
You were there.
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. Again,
You were in the UK. I'm not.
I wasn't in the
I was at Pacquiao Thurman. I wasn't there.
You're a friend. No, my next question.
You're deflected.
No.
December 14th, we're going to take over the Canelo fight. The date.
October, isn't it now? Oh, who's going to take it over? Well, there's a young man over there. You know.
What's that young man's name?
That's the brightest star in boxing. It's Devin Haney. It's a superstar right there. He's getting a bit shy still. He's gone a bit red, you know. Like, yeah.
Do we have an opponent from David?
Gosh, man. That was a serious interrogation, bro. That guy interrogated Eddie was interrogated, bro.
Yo, man, he's like, you like a used car.
Yeah, listen, that guy mentioned Eddie.
Yo.
That guy mentioned Eddie's daughter, bro. This guy's deep to that.
Yo, man, he was like, "What would you want your daughter going into a situation?"
No, bro. No.
He's like, "Don't listen to my daughter.
Nah, of course, bro. This guy's being too far.
She'll pull down the knickers when she's ready. Don't ever mention that."
Fred's crazy, bro. He's crazy. He America's, bro. Like, yo, bro. Like, he's crazy. It isn't, bro. Listen, Eddie obviously likes it, yeah, because he likes the guy.
Yeah, he liked that. He liked going back and forth and shit. That's why he always in front of the cameras.
Fuck it, no, man. Ted gave him a fucking roast.
He likes the challenge. He likes the battle wits.
Yeah. He thinks he's slick.
Because he was enjoying himself. He could have just left.
He interrogated. What was that?
He was enjoying himself.
Oh, he's saying the volume is low as well.
Yeah, man. I told you.
Was it low? It wasn't low just there, though, was it? Was it alright?
Yeah, man. I got my stuff on blast.
No, oh, shit. Oh, it was still low?
Yeah.
Does my voice sound low now?
Yep, I got my stuff on full, man.
Oh, my volume sound low now?
I mean, maybe you gotta get close to the mic, but I'm just telling you, my volume is high.
I don't know what's going on. My shit.
Like if I put you at half, I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. I had to go I had to max out my volume just to hear you.
It sound better now?
Yeah, a little better.
Oh man,
It's still low though.
oh man, that's the next time.
I try to tell you.
Yeah.
You talk about moving around and all this other stuff. I'm on a MacBook Pro, buddy.
Yeah. Going back to the thing, man, I'm just saying that shit he got interrogated. But hey, we got a big fight tomorrow, man. I think more of the guys are gonna win their fights. Ramirez, he old and shit. He getting worn out. I can't hear you at all. You can't hear me at all?
I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you, man. Damn.
Hold up, shit. Hold up. Yo, man, that's some bullshit. 1 minute, PNC.
Hey, what you away from your computer or some shit?
I ain't waiting for my computer, man.
You trying to do some remote control shit on your computer? That's what you trying to do.
I ain't doing nothing like
You trying to do something else, man. You trying to play the PlayStation or something like that and the hangout at the same time.
nah, man. The speakers is okay.
Turn it all the way up, man. Turn it up to 11.
What do you mean turn up? I don't know where it turns up for, man. What you talking about?
Turn it up to 11.
All right, let me try it now. How'd that sound? That sound better?
I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
That sound better?
No, go higher.
What about that one? That one sound better?
It sounds worse.
Oh man, shit. What about that one?
Sounds even worse.
What about this one?
Sounds worse.
Oh man, fuck that, man. All right, 1 second. I'm gonna come out and come in.
Do the opposite of what you was doing.
Nah, man. I'm gonna go out and come in, man. You killing me, bro. You killing me. Oh shit. Let me go out my own hangout. Come back in. 1 second.
All right.
Yeah, maybe it's that, man.
Waiting for people to join the call. Yeah, I couldn't hear EJ either. Let's see if he comes back in. Yeah.
Sound better now?
You still sound muted though, but I had to turn it up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. Maybe it's something on the computer or something. You know what? It's probably because of the video or the computer or something. Because usually you can't control one without the other. Yeah, maybe you turned on the mic on your computer to control the volume of the video or something. That's probably what happened.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah,
Oh, it sound better now?
yeah.
Sound louder now?
Yeah, and now I can hear you. That's what you did. You controlled the main control board on your computer to adjust the volume on the video instead of just. That's what happened.
Oh man, that's terrible, man. I didn't even know, man. Yeah. So that Eddie Hearn shit. Eddie Hearn is just criminal, man. Shit, I had this shit on full blast as well. Anyway, I had this shit on full blast. So anyway, what else we gonna talk about? I think we covered everything, man.
I think so, man. Cover the Devontae. I mean, we covered what's hot.
Yeah. We definitely cover what's hot.
I guess we can pay our respects to the boxers that passed away over the last weekend. You know.
Yeah. What's his name again?
Yeah, Hugo. I think it's Selena or something like that.
The guy, the kid in Argentina. Yeah, it was YG told me about him. And what's his name again? Maxin.
Hugo.
Maxin. Yeah. Maxin guy. Oh yeah. He says fine. Also, he said get the smoke. So they sound fine now. Thanks, bro. Yeah. Damn, man. I don't know. I wonder how long the sound was bad for. I guess it wouldn't sound bad for a while though.
I mean, you just had to max out your volume to hear, you know. But other than that,
how long was the sound bad for?
The whole interview, the whole playing the video.
What? But was it sad? Like I had the podcast on before. Were you listening before?
What do you mean listening before?
Before you came in, I was listening. There was a podcast I had on. Was it low then? No, maybe not though.
No, I don't know.
Okay,
I doubt it. It only start messing up when you start playing that video.
Yeah, you're probably right. Start choking up. Yeah, appreciate it. The fight who passed away, man. Maxin, what's his man? I should know his name as well because I done played tricky as well. The Maxin guy who fought Matisse, Madison or whatever his name is. What's his name again? Okay. Maxin Degashov. Yeah, Maxim Dereshov passed away, and the kid from Argentina, they passed away bad, man. Yeah, boxing's a serious sport, man. You take it, it ain't no joke, man. And sometimes things happen just like that, man. You don't even have to be freaking hitting the head or something like that. Maybe something happened before you came into the ring. You know what I'm saying? So, rest in peace, Maxim Dereshov, and the Argentina fighter, for real. Yeah, man. That's all I'm saying, that, man. Sad.
Yep.
Sad, bro. For real. But yeah, but these hangouts are gonna be coming to an end now. So me and PMC and the rest of the guys, we still want to continue though. So from August the 1st, yeah, we ain't no more in this Google kind of multi-screen thing, man. That they're gonna shut that down for whatever reason, I don't know. But that's how it's coming to an end. So
yeah, so it's all gonna just be Skype, huh?
Yeah, well, Skype's easy for me. You know what I'm saying? I went to bed when you put on the last video. This guy's funny, you know. This guy get some smoke. This guy giving me some joke. Oh man. But anyway, PMC, I'm gonna wrap up, man. Because I'm tired up. But yo, we're gonna catch up tomorrow, man. Hey, so who you officially are picking tomorrow? I'm going Ramirez. Who you got?
Man, I'm gonna go with my heart, man. I'm gonna go with Maurice Hooke, man.
What you going by? I'm going Ramirez.
I think Maurice. Who's the underdog?
Ramirez.
Yeah, I could probably put some money on Ramirez.
Not much though, but you can get some money though.
Yeah, I mean, if he's the underdog, I could put some money on him.
Yeah, guess so. Oh, my man's got Hooker. You got more Hooker?
Yeah, I got Hooker.
Where you go get the smoke? Where you got Hooker by? Like you got Hooker by decision? Like
Yo, he got.
That's what he always does. He try to hook up. He always trying to do decision. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't trying to win no fight. Like he ain't trying to stop nobody. Like he just gonna win. But his defense is bad, man. Chin's up in the air and everything. But I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll find out. Tomorrow we're gonna find. Well, should I say today in a couple of hours we're gonna find out. We're gonna cover up. PMC from PMC EJ Boxing Live. Man, I hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey, thank you. Get this smoke. I appreciate you coming over. And who else came over?
Yep, appreciate it.
Rob Gutty. What's it? Unrivaled Boxing. Denise Ward. Who else we got over there? Abs.
Yeah, Rob Gotti too. Yeah, Rob Gotti.
Yeah, Rob Gutty, man. The rest of you, man. So we appreciate. I'm play us out with some music and then we done, man. Peace.